Chapter 15:23. Impossible. Damn it. This is impossible. I don't believe it. Dong Qianshan roared madly, unable to accept this reality. Three-star king? Participating in the martial arts conference? Lin Xian sneered disdainfully. Just this title can make you so arrogant. I really don't know where you get your confidence from. He attacked, mercilessly. You think a three-star king is powerful? In my eyes, you're just SOSO. Also, don't think that participating in the martial arts conference is something worth being arrogant about. Let me tell you, I was also invited by Princess Kai Dai to participate in the martial arts conference. So, in front of me, you don't have any right to be arrogant. What? He's also participating in the martial arts conference? Hearing this, the crowd exclaimed. The martial arts conference was a grand event in the empire of Dexian. Only the top geniuses of the younger generation could participate. Therefore, anyone who participated in the martial arts conference would be regarded as a supreme honor. This was also the reason why Dong Qianshan had been constantly talking about this matter. However, they did not expect that Lin Xian would also participate in the martial arts conference. This was too shocking. You're also participating in the martial arts conference? Hearing Lin Xian's words, Dong Qianshan's expression darkened. He gritted his teeth so hard that they were about to shatter. This was too humiliating. In front of everyone, he could not defeat a three-star king. If this news spread, he would lose face. In that case, I won't be polite. I want to see what kind of strength you have to participate in the martial arts conference. He roared and quickly unleashed his king's domain. Suddenly, the surrounding space turned dark. Behind him, a huge black mountain appeared. It was dark and majestic with a soul-stirring pressure. Furthermore, black flames were being emitted from the black mountain. They were burning fiercely. This black mountain was Dong Qianshan's king domain. After displaying the king domain, Dong Qianshan's aura sword, carrying a terrifying murderous aura. This aura was too terrifying, causing the martial artists in the square to tremble. What a terrifying aura! Dong Qianshan is indeed a three-star king. He's so terrifying. Is this the strength of a martial artist participating in the martial arts conference? He's really strong. Brat, you should be proud of yourself for forcing me to use my Devil Mountain domain, Dong Qianshan said coldly. Then he waved his hand. Suddenly, a black demonic mountain came crashing down. Boom! The black light flickered, bringing with it a murderous aura that soared into the sky, as if it was going to tear the entire sky apart. In an instant, the black demonic mountain arrived above Lin Xian and pressed down mercilessly. Lin Xian, on the other hand, let out a low roar. The dragon sword domain around him flashed, and a shocking sword light soared into the sky, tearing the entire void apart. At this moment, the terror of the great dragon sword spirit was displayed. Vast sword chi shrouded the entire area. Pung! The demonic mountain and the sword chi collided, and a shocking sound of collision erupted. However, that terrifying demonic mountain was actually split apart by a single slash. What? Split it open with a single slash? This is impossible. Dong Qianshan's pupils constricted, and the crowd cried out in alarm. They felt their scalps go numb. That was Dong Qianshan's all-out attack. It was an attack that had fused with the Devil Mountain domain. It was incomparably terrifying. No one below three-star king realm could stop him. Yet now it had actually been split open by someone. Moreover, the one who had done this was actually a one-star king tier. This was truly too inconceivable. Kid, go to hell! Dong Qianshan roared crazily. His voice was like thunder, causing the entire sky to split apart. Then he brought the black demonic mountain with him and quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. He was like a devil king. The tattoos on his body were surrounded by black chi, emitting a terrifying, murderous aura. Kill! Lin Xian let out a furious roar, as well. Then, his sword chi swept out like a true dragon, filling up the void. That incomparably huge body was covered with scales, as if it was real. A terrifying aura shook the entire void. With a terrifying, murderous aura, it quickly slashed forward. Pung! The incomparably terrifying demonic mountain collided with the real dragon sword chi, and a sonorous sound rang out. Suddenly, demonic clouds rolled, and black chi surged. The scene turned into hell. It was a terrifying scene. This time, Dong Qianshan attacked, with all his strength. With the incomparably terrifying devil mountain domain, he directly broke the sword chi and quickly rushed towards Lin Xian. Ha ha! Kid, go to hell. Your sword chi is useless in front of me. Dong Qianshan stood on the demonic mountain and quickly rushed over. He was like a real devil king, extremely powerful to the extreme. Lin Xian, on the other hand, sneered and activated the Dragon Sword realm to fight back. Ridiculous! You want to use your domain to fight against me? You're courting death. Watch how I shatter your domain. Dong Qianshan laughed crazily because a one-star king's domain could not do anything in front of him. It's over. That kid is going to be killed, the surrounding people exclaimed. In the next moment, the Devil Mountain domain and the Dragon Sword domain collided, and the entire void shook rapidly. A terrifying energy swept out in all directions. No, damn it, how is this possible? Not long after, Dong Qianshan let out a cry of surprise. He seemed to be in a panic. What happened? Hearing this voice, everyone looked over. Then their eyes widened. They could not believe it. This was because Dong Qianshan's Devil Mountain domain was now full of holes pierced by countless sharp swords. It was on the verge of collapse, as if it would collapse at any time. How is this possible? Dong Qianshan's king domain was defeated? How is this possible? Everyone's scalp went numb. They could not believe it. It should be known that that was a 3-star king's domain, which was far more powerful than a 1-star king's domain. Now it had been pierced and was even about to explode. This was completely beyond everyone's understanding. Lin Xian sneered. 3-star king? Devil Mountain domain? Your pride? You can't even withstand a single blow. This was a slap in the face, and Dong Qianshan was unable to fight back. Kid, I'll remember you. Just you wait. Dong Qianshan's face was gloomy, but he did not dare to fight anymore, so he turned around and fled. His figure flashed, and he turned into a shocking demonic aura, instantly rushing into the sky and disappearing. What? He escaped? Looking at this scene, everyone was stunned. It was as if they were dreaming. A dignified 3-star king had actually fled? What a piece of trash. Lin Xian looked at the fleeing figure and sneered. This kind of trash was not worthy of his attack. After putting away the Dragon Sword domain, Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon also left. Only the stunned crowd was left behind. They were too shocked. That was Dong Qianshan, the genius of the Dong family. Originally, he was extremely arrogant and did not take anyone seriously. However, they did not expect that in the end, he would escape in a sorry state. The contrast between before and after was truly ironic. However, this time, what shocked them even more was Lin Xian's identity. Chapter 1524. However, what shocked them even more was Lin Xian's identity. Who exactly was he? What kind of person could be so powerful that he could send a 3-star king running away? They didn't know, but they knew that the great Xian Empire would undergo a great change. Lin Xian left the Blue Moon Plaza and flew towards the imperial city of the great Xian Empire with the Crimson Dragon. This time, only the two of them were left. Of course, there was also He Tu, who was beside Lin Xian. Morong Qingcheng and the others had joined the powerful sacred grounds to cultivate. Lin Xian didn't have to worry about their safety at all, because from the previous performance, even if Morong Qingcheng and the others had joined the sacred grounds, they would still receive special treatment. Sacred grounds, Lin Xian muttered, his eyes shining brightly. He knew that if he wanted to become a great emperor, he would have to fight with the geniuses of the sacred grounds. Just as Lin Xian and the Crimson Dragon were heading towards the imperial city, Dong Qianshan's defeat and disappearance swept through the entire Great Xian Empire like a gust of wind. What shocked everyone even more was that the person who defeated Dong Qianshan was only a one-star king. Not only that, but it was also said that the one-star king was also going to participate in the martial arts conference. However, he wasn't one of the third prince's men, but one of Princess Katie's men. Dong Qianshan was one of the third prince's men. Not only that, but he could also be ranked in the top 10 of the third prince's men. The third prince's prestige was also one of the strongest among all the princes and princesses. But now, the genius of the third prince's men was defeated by a one-star king under Princess Katie's men. This was simply too shocking. For a moment, everyone was guessing where Princess Kaidai had found such a miraculous young man. The Dong family was a first-rate family in the Great Xian Empire. At this moment, the atmosphere was a little gloomy because their genius Dong Qianshan had been defeated. Moreover, everyone knew about this. This made them lose a great deal of face. However, at this moment, a figure appeared above the Dong family. This figure was strolling in the void, as if he was having fun. He didn't care about the Dong family at all. Not only that, but in the end, he even sat down at the top of the Dong family. This was a young warrior with a bald head and a cold face. He was covered in a black robe and exuded a gloomy aura. The bald young man sat directly above the Dong clan. Then, as if he had been petrified, there was no movement at all. This strange scene naturally attracted the attention of the Dong family's martial artists. Immediately, they were all furious. This was because no one dared to behave atrociously in front of the Dong family. But now, someone was sitting above them without any scruples. This made them extremely furious. However, when they saw the figure above them again, they were all stunned. After all, his aura wasn't any weaker than Dong Qianshan's. In fact, he might even be stronger. But so what? The Dong family was also a first-rate family. They would never allow anyone to provoke them. Therefore, very soon, there were cultivators who stood out wanting to make a move. However, at this moment, the sound of something breaking through the air came from afar again. A few more mysterious figures descended. Like ghosts, 3 figures emitted powerful auras and arrived above the Dong family. Then, they slowly sat down. They didn't speak, but their figures were like mountains pressing down on the people's heads, making it difficult for them to breathe. This scene stunned the Dong family's martial artists. Even those who were about to make a move stopped. Their eyes were filled with uncertainty. They felt that the situation in front of them was a little strange. They had to inform the young master of the Dong family. Therefore, someone quickly went to report to the Dong family. However, not long after, another voice came from afar. The figure's aura was even more powerful. He was like a celestial demon, especially his arms. They were purplish red and shone with a metallic luster. There were even sword and saber scars on his arms. At first glance, one could tell that he was a veteran of hundreds of battles. Perhaps no one knew this person, but his palms were very famous. Flaming demon palms. As for this young man, no one knew his original name. They only knew that he was called the Flaming Demon. The Flaming Demon was very powerful. He could definitely be ranked in the top 3 of the third prince's subordinates. It could be said that Dong Qianshan was far inferior to him. The Flaming Demon's appearance attracted everyone's attention. At this moment, a voice drifted over. It seems that the third prince cares a lot about this matter. He even sent you the flaming demon. I wonder if Jiang Nantian will come? Impossible. He is the third prince's #1 expert. Why would he come here? It turned out that the mysterious figures in the sky were talking. At this moment, they saw the flaming demon and nodded slightly. However, their eyes were very serious. It was very obvious that the flaming demon held a very high position in their hearts. The flaming demon also looked around. Then his deep voice sounded. I didn't expect you all to come. There was no helping it. The matter yesterday had too great of an impact. Now, the entire Great Xian Empire knew about it. Naturally, he had to come and take a look. That's right. That Dong Qianshan was actually defeated by a 1-star king. It's really surprising. The third prince is very angry about yesterday's matter. If Dong Qianshan can't explain it clearly, I'm afraid he'll end up very miserably. I'm guessing that it must be the top 3 experts under Princess Kai Dai. They hid their cultivation and specially came to humiliate the third prince. Otherwise, it's impossible for others to do this. That makes sense. Hearing this, many people nodded slightly. Indeed, among all the princes, the third prince was the strongest. Princess Jie was slightly weaker than the third prince. Although the third prince had many experts under him, to be able to defeat Dong Qianshan so easily, it was at least the top 3 experts under him. However, at this moment, another voice sounded. Not necessarily. Perhaps Princess Kai Dai found another expert this time. Forget it. This time, we must find Dong Qianshan and ask him. Okay, I'll call him. The bald young man who arrived first let out a grin before his thunderous voice echoed in the surroundings. Dong Qianshan, we've been here for so long, but you still haven't appeared? Could it be that your injuries are so serious? Humph. Not long after, a cold snort sounded from below. Then, a figure quickly appeared in the sky like a ghost. This figure was naturally Dong Qianshan. At this moment, his face was somewhat pale, and his eyes were cold. It was obvious that he had suffered serious injuries. In addition, his reputation had been ruined, and his mental state had taken a hit. Now that he saw these old acquaintances, his face naturally turned even uglier. What? Are you here to laugh at me? Dong Qianshan asked coldly. His voice was extremely cold. Chapter 15:25. Don't think too much. We're just here to ask about the person who defeated you, the bald young man asked. Although they didn't show it, there was a trace of mockery on their faces. Obviously, they were disdainful of Dong Qianshan's defeat, especially at the hands of a 1-star king. Humph. That kid is called Lin Xian. I don't know where he's from. However, the aura he exuded is indeed that of a 1-star king, but his strength has surpassed that of a 3-star king. You don't have to mock me. If you don't believe me, you can challenge him and see if he's as powerful as the legends say. What? He's really only a 1-star king? Hearing this, everyone's expression became strange. The bald young man from before even revealed a trace of disdain. He's really a 1-star king. I say, Dong Qianshan, you're really regressing. You actually lost to a 1-star king. I really don't know how someone like you can become the third prince's subordinate. Don't be so arrogant. I can guarantee that you'll definitely lose if you fight with that person. Dong Qianshan stared at the bald young man with a cold expression. Then he continued in a cold voice, since you already know about that young man, there's no need for you to stay in my family. Gentlemen, please. After saying that, he waved his sleeve and ignored these people. His figure flickered and flew down. Although these people were investigating Lin Xian's whereabouts, they had unquestionably opened up his old wounds. This made him very unhappy. All right, let's go meet that Lin Xian guy and see if he's as powerful as the legends say. Or is someone too useless to withstand a single blow? With that, the bald young man laughed loudly 3 times. Then his body rose from the ground and shot up into the sky like a ray of light. The figures of the other few people also swayed and disappeared into the sky. They naturally didn't know where Lin Xian was, but they could guess that since he was invited by Princess Kai Dai, he must be participating in the martial arts conference. The martial arts conference was held in the imperial city of the Empire of Dexian. Therefore, they only needed to head to the imperial city. These people turned into streaks of light with ferocious smiles on their faces and quickly rushed towards the imperial city. The imperial city was the most flourishing city in the Grand Xian Empire. The area it occupied was so vast that it was comparable to an ordinary small country. One could only imagine how prosperous the imperial city was. Half a month later, Lin Xian arrived at the bustling royal city. Along the way, he heard news about himself everywhere. However, no one came to bother him. The reason was very simple. Not many people had actually seen him before. Most of them had only heard about him from rumors. However, along the way, he had also come to understand the current situation of the Grand Xian Empire. Within the Great Xian Empire, the clans were flourishing and had reached an inconceivable height. Amongst them, the strongest clan was the Yuan clan, the royal family of the Great Xian Empire. And this martial arts conference was held by the Yuan family for these princes and princesses. Among these princes and princesses, the first prince and the third prince were the strongest and ranked first. The second was Princess Kai Dai, the seventh prince, and the fourth prince. Apart from this, there were also the third and fourth echelons. However, these princes were relatively weak, so Lin Xian did not pay attention to them. Lin Xian was still very curious about this Princess Kai Dai, because among so many experts, most of them were princes, and only one princess. One could imagine that she must be an extremely outstanding talent. Otherwise, it would be impossible for her to occupy the second echelon among so many princes. After arriving at the imperial city, Lin Xian did not go to the princess residence. Instead, he strolled around, feeling the prosperity of the Grand Xian Empire's imperial city. The Fongyue brothel was a very famous restaurant in the imperial city. Here, genius cultivators from various aristocratic families could often be seen. Sometimes, even princes could be seen. It could be said that this was one of the most lively places in the imperial city. Lin Xian entered the Fongyue brothel and ordered a pot of good wine and a few exquisite dishes. Then he sat by the window and slowly tasted the wine. During this time, a few aristocratic family disciples were talking loudly. The news they were talking about was very strange. It was all some strange news in the eastern wilderness. It could not be helped. The eastern wilderness was too mysterious. There were many powerful cultivators who were like gods and demons. Did you know? It's said that an ancient tomb was dug up not long ago. It seems to be the cave of an expert from the ancient era. It alarmed the remote antiquity aristocratic families and peerless sacred grounds. I heard about it too. It's said that an incredible treasure appeared and was obtained by the Yi family in the end. Not necessarily. The Jade Lake Sacred Ground and the Purple Dawn Sacred Ground are both extremely terrifying. Even if the Yi family is a remote antiquity aristocratic family, they can't stop the other provinces from joining forces with the Time Sacred Ground, right? Who knows? In any case, it's all about the remote antiquity aristocratic families and the peerless sacred grounds. The others can't get it at all. Yeah, and the Yi family is extremely terrifying. Back then, Emperor Yi single-handedly dominated the ancient era and suppressed the 9 heavens and 10 lands. He can be said to be extremely powerful. I'm afraid that even among the great emperors, he's an extremely powerful existence. These people discussed animatedly. Most of them were talking about the rumors. However, this kind of new secret rumor was hard for ordinary people to hear. Therefore, all the cultivators in the restaurant listened with great interest. Even Lin Xian was very curious. Emperor Yi? Is the Yi family one of the remote antiquity aristocratic families? Lin Xian asked in a low voice. Yes, the Yi family is one of the remote antiquity aristocratic families. They once had a great emperor who was called Emperor Yi. It's said that he's extremely terrifying. Even among the great emperors, he's an extremely powerful existence. He Tu said in a deep voice. The Crimson Dragon was drooling. Damn, what kind of treasure did they dig up? Even the remote antiquity aristocratic families and sacred grounds are alarmed. It must be a shocking treasure. Damn, Ben Huang wants to go too. The Crimson Dragon was a restless person. Naturally, he was drooling over such a good thing. He Tu said ruthlessly, You won't even be enough to fill the gaps between their teeth. I reckon that the aftermath of the battle will be enough to kill you. If you ask me, it's more likely that your dragon ancestor will go. Lin Xian was also puzzled. By the way, Rosalong, aren't you from the dragon clan? Where's your family? Why haven't I seen you go back? Is it not in the eastern continent? Humph! Ben Huang ran away from home. Don't mention any family to me. The Crimson Dragon was very unhappy when he heard the word family. There must be a story behind it. However, since the Crimson Dragon was unwilling, Lin Xian did not ask further. However, at this moment, the disciples of the aristocratic families started discussing again. Chapter 1526. Let's not talk about those things. After all, the clan of the ancients and the sacred grounds are too far away from us. Let's talk about the internal affairs of the Dexian country. Internal affairs? What's there to talk about? The only thing I can talk about is the upcoming martial arts conference. Hey, have you heard? It's said that a mysterious young man appeared in the Azure Moon Dojo and defeated Dong Qianshan with an extremely valiant attitude. I've also heard that the mysterious youth is only a one-star king. It's just a rumor. Don't take it seriously. That person is definitely hiding his strength. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been able to defeat a three-star king. Unless he's one of those geniuses from the Holy Lands. But how could those disciples from the sacred grounds and remote antiquity families come to the great Xian Empire and become Princess Kaidai's subordinates? Thus, that person must be concealing his cultivation. That's right. No matter how powerful he is, he only defeated Dong Qianshan. It's impossible for him to defeat all of the third prince's subordinates. Indeed, Dong Qianshan is only ranked 10th under the third prince. No matter how strong that person is, it's impossible for him to be ranked in the top 5. If Princess Kaidai wants to enter the first tier, I'm afraid it's simply impossible. That's right. Other than the first prince and the third prince, no one else can enter the first echelon. There are only a few people in the second echelon. However, I've heard that apart from the disciples of the aristocratic families of our grand Xian Empire, there are also people from the surrounding countries, and even those islands that have come to participate in this martial competition. Truly a group of idiots. Is the martial competition of my grand Xian Empire so easy to participate in? Those people are just frogs at the bottom of a well. They still want to amaze the world with a single brilliant feat in this martial arts conference. They are really courting death. A group of people were talking and laughing. Humph! However, at this moment, a cold snort came from the side. You're just a few stubborn disciples of aristocratic families. How dare you talk nonsense here? How laughable! Hearing this, everyone's expression changed, and they all turned their heads to look. Not far away, a black-clothed young man sat with a gloomy expression. He was the one who had spoken those cold words earlier. However, a few well-dressed young masters of aristocratic families sitting in the center only glanced at him coldly. After that, he didn't pay much attention to it. It was as if he was just air, completely ignoring that person. Then they started chatting and laughing again. Actually, there are many aspects to this matter. Although the martial arts of these countries are not good, that woman is very beautiful. Some of them are even famous throughout the world. Now that you mention it, I remember it's said that there were 3 exceptional beauties in the Azure Moon Plaza. 2 of them entered the sacred land, while the last one went somewhere unknown. But it shouldn't be too bad. Let's not think about entering the Holy Land. I can consider the beauties from the nearby countries. It can be considered their good fortune for them to have married into the aristocratic families of my grand Xian Empire. I heard that in Jinju country, there's a beauty called Jade Beauty. I wonder if she came this time. Aya, who wants to sleep with that kind of beauty for a night? I'm willing to spend any amount of money. The few of them chatted and laughed, completely ignoring the surrounding countries. Humph, Jinyu country Li Fong, come to ask for advice. I'd like to see what you hedonistic sons have to be so arrogant about. The black-clothed youth who snorted coldly earlier stood up again, his eyes blooming with a biting cold, killing intent. Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed. They didn't expect this youth to be a warrior of Jinju country. No wonder he was so angry earlier. Who do you think you are? Are you worthy of fighting with us? The few aristocratic family disciples sneered disdainfully, whether I'm worthy or not. You'll know after you try. Li Fong's voice was cold. Then he waved his arm, and a golden light quickly slashed forward. Whoosh! Everyone exclaimed. They didn't expect that the other party would really dare to fight here. However, the disdain on the faces of the aristocratic family disciples was even stronger. Someone like you actually dares to fight us? You're really courting death. Among them, one of the aristocratic family disciples snorted coldly. Then, without turning his head, he waved his palm. Suddenly, a ball of green flame flew out quickly and collided with the golden saber light. The next moment, the golden light was burned clean. Not only that, the green flame instantly shrouded the black-clothed warrior. Then, it emitted a bright light and burned him into a bloody mist. Whoosh! Whoosh! In just a moment, the black-clothed warrior was burned clean. Even the bloody mist in the air disappeared. Nothing was left. What? So powerful! When the surrounding warriors saw this scene, their eyes widened in disbelief. Even Lin Xian revealed a trace of bewilderment. He realized that although these aristocratic family disciples were arrogant and conceited, they were indeed very powerful. After killing the black-clothed warrior with a palm, the young man in luxurious clothes laughed. I really didn't want to fight, but that guy was too arrogant. He dared to provoke us, so I could only kill him. Hee, so what if trash like him dies? What's the big deal? However, Zhou Tian, the power of your blue sky fire has increased by quite a bit, right? Looking at it, you should have reached the level of a 3-star king, right? That's right. With this flame, I'm afraid even a 3-star king wouldn't dare to provoke you. The martial artists from the surrounding countries are really idiots. How dare they fight with Zhou Tian? When these words were said, the atmosphere in the restaurant became tense. This was because there were martial artists from all over the world in this restaurant. Many of them were from other countries. When they heard these words, they were naturally angry. Lin Xian didn't care, because his vision was very broad now. Although the young man who attacked previously was powerful, he was still inferior to Dong Qianshan. Even Dong Qianshan wasn't his opponent, not to mention these people. Therefore, he didn't care about these people's words at all. He was just trying to get information that was useful to him. However, the same could not be said for the others. Some of the people in the private rooms were from the surrounding countries. They were all elites of heaven. When had they ever been ridiculed? Naturally, their faces were gloomy, especially the few warriors from Jinju country. Their faces were terrifyingly dark. Although they didn't know the black-clothed warrior, he was still someone from Jinju country. Yet, he was killed like this. He didn't put Jinju country in his eyes at all. Therefore, for a moment, many experts from Jinju country released their terrifying killing intent. However, these aristocratic family disciples didn't care at all. They even sneered. I don't care which country you're from. Since you've come to the imperial city of the great Xian Empire, if you're a dragon, you'll have to lie down. If you're a tiger, you'll have to lie down. You're not allowed to be presumptuous here. Chapter 1527. Humph, Jinju country's Han Kuan. Come and experience it. A tall and sturdy young man stood up and walked over with large strides. His body emitted a terrifying aura, like a demonic mountain, causing the entire void to tremble. However, at this time, a beautiful little maid blocked his way. My master invites you for tea. Humph, I'll let you be proud for a while. In a while, I'll let you know the power of my Jinju country. Han Kuan snorted and followed the little maid into a private room. Sigh, you really don't know what death is. If it wasn't for someone stopping you, I'm afraid you'd be a dead man now. Several disciples sneered. Humph, these countries, do they really think there are experts? No, to be exact, there should be one, or 1.5. One of the disciples said in a deep voice. There's actually one more? Why didn't I know? Who is it? Demonic Blade. Ren Tianya? Demonic Blade? You mean him? Hearing this, those disciples nodded slightly. He could indeed be considered an expert. I also heard that his blade technique is very fast. No one could see him make a move. Anyone who saw him draw his blade is already dead. But speaking of which, no one knows where he came from. So he can't be considered as someone from the surrounding countries. That's right. Several people nodded in agreement. However, someone asked, then who is the other half? It's that mysterious young man who defeated Dong Qianshan on Songyue Square. Although I don't know where he came from. He should be considered as half an expert. Not bad. To be able to defeat Dong Qianshan, he can indeed be considered an expert. I didn't expect that the surrounding countries would only have 1.5 experts. However, it's not certain whether these two people are from these countries. It seems that my Xian Empire is still the most powerful. Hearing this, the warriors of the Xian Empire laughed, while the warriors from the surrounding countries looked gloomy. Being ridiculed in public, they naturally lost face. Moreover, many of them were incomparably angry. However, the methods used by those disciples were really too terrifying. These people were not ignorant and incompetent, stubborn disciples, but powerful disciples of aristocratic families. Therefore, they had the right to be arrogant. Humph, if Ren Tianya was here, they definitely wouldn't dare to be arrogant. Several martial artists from the neighboring countries gritted their teeth. Ren Tianya was a very valiant martial artist. He was very famous for his swift saber moves. No one had seen him make a move. Anyone who had seen him draw his saber had been killed. No one knew which country he came from, but it was said that he often appeared in the surrounding countries. Humph, if that mysterious expert was here, these people wouldn't dare to act like this. The mysterious powerhouse they spoke of was naturally Lin Xian. Ever since Lin Xian had injured Dong Qianshan last time, it could be said that his reputation had spread. Now, everyone knew that such an existence existed. However, what they didn't know was that Lin Xian was currently in the Wind Moon restaurant. In another private room, the tall Han Kuan sat there with an extremely solemn expression. He looked at the martial artists opposite him and slowly said, "Thank you for your good intentions, but that guy is really too hateful. He actually dared to humiliate my Jinju country in public. Therefore, this battle must go on no matter what." At this moment, sitting opposite Han Kuan, were several martial artists. They were all young and did not exceed 30 years old. Among them, there was a woman who was very beautiful. Her delicate face seemed to be carved out of jade. Not only that, her pair of bright eyes were full of spirituality. As they moved, they seemed to be able to speak. This beautiful woman was the legendary Jade Beauty of Jinju country. Beside her, there were also a few people sitting. However, the one closest to her was a handsome young man. There was a vigorous vitality between his eyebrows. This person was her brother. Previously, it was this brother and sister pair who invited Han Kuan over and prevented him from fighting with those disciples of aristocratic families. However, now it seemed that Han Kuan was very insistent on fighting with the other party. Therefore, everyone sighed. To be honest, they were also very angry, especially Jade Beauty, whose face was solemn, because previously, those disciples of aristocratic families were very frivolous in their words. However, they did not dare to act blindly without thinking, because the strength displayed by those disciples of aristocratic families was very powerful. That battle strength was definitely at the level of a 3-star king, or even stronger. Moreover, the other party, as a disciple of an aristocratic family of the great Xian Empire, definitely had a lot of powerful martial arts in their hands. Therefore, they did not dare to act blindly without thinking. However, Han Kuan shook his head. His temper was very violent, and naturally would not allow others to provoke him, not to mention this kind of public humiliation. Therefore, after thanking Jade Beauty and her brother again, he strode out of the private room. "I'm back. Today, I'll experience what qualifications do you have to be arrogant?" Han Kuan strode over, light flowing around his body, carrying a powerful aura. His palms seemed to have turned into metal, carrying an ice-cold light. Grabbing in the air, he grabbed a chair around him and then smashed it forward. Originally, this was just an ordinary chair, but now, its surface was covered with a layer of metallic luster, as if it had become a divine weapon, sharp and unstoppable. Even the entire void was trembling rapidly. What kind of technique is this?" the surrounding people exclaimed. They also noticed this change. However, the disciples of aristocratic families in the center sneered. Among them, Zhou Tian snorted coldly, then waved his hand. Immediately, a ball of green flame quickly floated out and collided with the metallized chair. Chi-chi. Then the sound of collision was heard. As if ice and snow had melted, the chair instantly turned into a pool of molten iron and fell to the ground. "You dare to make a fool of yourself with such petty tricks?" Zhou Tian sneered. The surrounding people were shocked. The chair just now had turned into a divine weapon. Its power was even more terrifying than that of a top-tier spiritual artifact. However, under the green flame, it could not resist at all, and was turned into molten iron. This green flame was too terrifying, wasn't it? The other disciples of aristocratic families were also surprised. "Zhou Tian, why do I feel that you've entered the realm of a 3-star king?" The green flame was incomparably mysterious, turning the entire sky green. Han Kuan's expression was cold as he said coldly, "Today, I'll show you the power of my Jinju country." The aura on Han Kuan's body was so powerful that it had already reached the realm of a 3-star king. The entire void trembled as if it was about to shatter. Chapter 1528. In the next moment, his body swayed, and like a phantom, he charged forward. In an instant, he was in front of Zhou Tian, and his terrifying palm slammed down. The cold sound of metal clashing against metal could be heard as the palm slammed down. Like a sudden clap of thunder, it exploded in the surroundings. Immediately, all the martial artists in the Feng Yue brothel looked over. This palm was too terrifying. No one below the level of a 3-star king could withstand it. However, Zhou Tian sneered with a calm expression. His body swayed. and he transformed into countless green lights, disappearing from the spot. Since you want to fight, I'll play with you. However, let's not fight in the Fonglua brothel. Otherwise, I can't afford to pay for the damage. As he spoke, he had already arrived in the sky outside. It seemed that the background of the Fonglua brothel was not simple. Even Zhou Tian did not dare to offend them. It's the same everywhere. Han Kuan shouted coldly. His body swayed, and he flew out as well. It was obvious that there were hundreds of golden rays of light revolving around him at high speed. The terrifying golden lights seemed to tear the sky apart, emitting a terrifying aura. On his body, a golden armor seemed to have formed, exuding a mysterious power as it charged toward Zhou Tian. Zhou Tian sneered. His body moved like a phantom, moving rapidly in the air, leaving behind countless afterimages. This was a very mysterious footwork, and he quickly dodged the golden lights that Han Kuan had shot out. His movements were extremely elegant, as if he was on a scenic tour. "Haha, too slow. Watch my counterattack." Zhou Tian sneered, then waved his hand. Suddenly, green lights surged rapidly, filling all directions, and charged toward Han Kuan. These green flames were too terrifying. They were like the flames of hell, able to melt everything. Even weapons below the level of Earth-rank treasures could not withstand this heat. Clearly, this was Zhou Tian's origin source flame, and he had refined it to a terrifying level. Boom! In the next moment, Han Kuan's expression changed drastically. This was because he realized that the green flames had entered his golden domain. Some of the golden lights were even melted by the green flames. Damn it! Han Kuan's face was gloomy. He didn't expect that he would suffer a hidden loss in an instant. This caused him to be extremely shocked. What shocked him even more was the green flame. It was obvious that his opponent's cultivation was only at the late stage of a 2-star king realm, while he was a true 3-star king realm. However, his opponent's green flames were actually able to threaten him. It must be said that this was truly too shocking. When the crowd saw this scene, they cried out in surprise. At the same time, the genius martial artists from the surrounding countries walked out from the private rooms. Among them, the Jade Beauty and her brother had solemn expressions. They realized that the other party was too mysterious and too powerful. The green flames, in particular, made them feel a sense of trepidation. Ascend to heaven and descend to hell. Zhou Tian's expression became even more smug when he saw that all the genius martial artists from various countries had come to watch the battle. He quickly waved his hand, forming a green domain around him. At the same time, the green domain quickly churned, and a green palace quickly formed. That green palace was too terrifying. It emitted an aura that made one's heart tremble. It was like a heavenly palace, incomparably mysterious. As soon as it appeared, a green light instantly covered the entire sky. Even the king realm around Han Kuan started to burn. This scene was simply too terrifying. Han Kuan was a 3-star king realm, and his king realm was incomparably terrifying. However, at this moment, it actually started to burn. This made everyone extremely shocked. Even Lin Xian was slightly surprised. His eyes flickered as he looked at the sky. At this moment, the green palace in the sky was incomparably mysterious, and it was emitting a bright light. Countless green flames burned fiercely above it, as if it was a heavenly palace. Not good. This is probably an extremely terrifying secret technique of the great Xian Empire. Those green flames seemed to be the blue sky flames. They had heard that these flames were extremely terrifying when they fell from the sky. They did not expect this young man to possess such a mysterious flame. The Jade Beauty and her brother frowned. Obviously, they had also heard of this flame. Then, they quickly sent a voice transmission. "Brother Han, please stop." Those flames are too terrifying. There is no need to continue fighting. Indeed, they were very worried about Han Kuen's safety. However, Han Kuen's expression was gloomy. He looked ahead and suddenly shouted, "Gold Realm, kill for me!" In the next moment, the gold realm around Han Kuen emitted a bright light. Then, streaks of terrifying golden light shot up into the sky. They were like swords, sabers, and spears that quickly filled the entire sky. In an instant, the entire space was covered by the golden light. The surrounding space started to tremble. This aura was too powerful. It even made all the martial artists tremble. Cracks appeared in many places in the sky. It could not withstand this aura at all. Boom, boom. The incomparably mysterious green palace bloomed and violently collided with the thousands of golden lights in the sky. Streaks of black cracks appeared like an abyss. It was extremely terrifying. The scene was too terrifying. In an instant, many of the golden lights were burned to ashes. However, there were even more golden rays of light that blotted out the sky and covered the earth as they charged forward. Blue sky palm. Zhou Tian sneered and waved his palm. Suddenly, the green palace behind him surged rapidly. A large hand that was burning with green flames reached out from the palace. It was like the palm of a demon god. It quickly blasted forward. Boom, boom, boom. This green flame palm was too terrifying. As soon as it appeared, it caused a large patch of golden light to disappear. Black holes appeared in the void, one after another. In an instant, the golden light was destroyed. The green palm quickly attacked Han Kuen. That terrifying palm wind and flames were already about to burn Han Kuen. Feeling this terrifying energy, Han Kuen's face changed again. He had no choice but to retreat quickly. Like a streak of golden light, he instantly retreated into the distance. Humph! You want to fight with this young master with your little tricks? You're overestimating yourself. Zhou Tian sneered disdainfully. The disciples of the aristocratic families who came with him also laughed out loud. Their voices were filled with mockery. Brother Zhou, I have to say that you're really surprising. Although you're only a late-stage 2-star king, your blue sky flame is too terrifying. I'm afraid that even a 3-star king is not your match. Not only that, I think even a slightly more powerful 3-star king is not Brother Zhou's match. Blue sky flame is indeed a divine flame that descended from the heavens. It's really terrifying. Ha 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 ha. Is this the strength of an expert from Jinyu Nation? What a disappointment. Chapter 1529. They talked and laughed, their words full of mockery. They didn't care about Han Kuen's and the other people's expressions. They didn't need to care at all. The disciples of the aristocratic families looked at Jade Beauty and her sister at the side. When they saw Jade Beauty, their eyes shone with a fiery light. One had to admit that Jade Beauty was too beautiful. She was like a fairy that had fallen into the mortal world. Many cultivators around them swallowed their saliva. The disciples of the aristocratic families were even more dazzled as they looked over from time to time. However, they didn't make a move. They were the disciples of the aristocratic families of the great Xian Empire. They had status and strength. They couldn't do something like snatching someone away. What they hoped to do was to use their strength and charm to conquer the other party. This was their pride and confidence as the disciples of the aristocratic families. However, on the other side, Han Kuen's face was terrifyingly gloomy. As a 3-star king and a young genius of the Jinju Nation, he had never been ridiculed like this. Therefore, with a furious roar, he charged forward again. Looking at Han Kuen, who was charging over, Zhou Tian smiled disdainfully. It's useless. It's futile to continue fighting. Zhou Tian sneered and shook his head. Although I'm only a late-stage 2-star king, I have the blue sky flame. which allows me to contend against 3-star kings. Even ordinary 3-star kings are no match for me. Although you're also a 3-star king, you have no chance of winning against me. Seeing that your talent is not bad, why don't you become my slave? As long as you serve me faithfully, my Zhou family won't mistreat you. Bush *T. Die. Han Kuan was furious. He was a genius of the Jinju nation. How could he become someone's slave? Therefore, he roared angrily, and the golden domain around him shone with brilliant light. Huge golden sword chi surged out of his body and quickly slashed forward. However, Zhou Tian sneered disdainfully. He waved his hand, and the green palace behind him shone brightly. A green flame appeared in the air, emitting a terrifying power and shattering all the golden sword chi. Then he waved his hands, and 2 green palms shot out and slapped Han Kuan, sending him flying. See? This is the difference between us. Zhou Tian was like a god of war, looking down on all directions. The other disciples from the other aristocratic families also burst into laughter, their eyes filled with disdain. However, Zhou Tian said coldly again, "I'll give you a choice. Become my slave. Otherwise, don't blame me for being ruthless." As he finished speaking, a sharp killing intent surged from his body. Stop. Jade Beauty and her brother could not bear to watch any longer. With a flash of their bodies, they quickly came to Han Kuan's side and helped him up. Forget it. Don't fight anymore. That person is too terrifying, especially that blue sky flame. It's a legendary divine flame that descended from the heavens. Although your cultivation is higher than his, you are still no match for him. Oh, what a beautiful person. Zhou Tian looked to the front and revealed a smile. From the looks of it, you must be the legendary Jade Beauty. Zhou Tian nodded. I've heard that the Jade Beauty's appearance is unparalleled. Now that I've seen it for myself, it's indeed true. She's even prettier than the legends. Indeed, she is a peerless beauty. Beside him, the other disciples of the aristocratic families also laughed heartily, their eyes filled with passion. Humph! Jade Beauty snorted coldly. To be honest, the gazes of those people made her uncomfortable. However, she could not retaliate and could only pretend that she did not see them. At this moment, most of the people were looking at the beautiful figure in the middle of the field. Lin Xian's eyes flickered as he looked to the front and nodded slightly. However, his eyes were clear, and there was no infatuation in them. Moreover, he had no intention of interfering with what was happening in front of him because all of this had nothing to do with him. At this moment, Zhou Tian spoke again. For the sake of the beauty, I'll spare your life today. However, next time, if you're so blind to provoke me again, don't blame me for killing you. The other disciples of the aristocratic families also smirked. They quickly glanced around and fixed their eyes on another person. There's another beauty? Look at her appearance. She's not inferior to Jade Beauty at all. The disciples of the aristocratic families looked to the front, and there was also a beautiful figure. She was wearing a pure white long dress and looked ethereal with a hint of Jiangnan's grace. It was as if the coldest ice could melt under her gaze. Looking at you, you must be Bai Yuran from the Bai family, right? I didn't expect to see 2 peerless beauties at the same time today. How wonderful! Alas, it's a pity that I have no chance to meet the 3 beauties who entered the Holy Land at Sanyue Square. It's really a pity. However, no matter how beautiful those 3 beauties are, I don't think they can compare to these 2 beauties. After feeling sad for a while, the disciples of the aristocratic families laughed loudly. Then they looked around and spoke loudly. Today we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk with these 2 beauties. Those who have nothing to do with it, get lost. Leave this place. This place is not open to the public today. If anyone dares to stay, don't blame me for being rude. Humph, if you don't want to die, get lost. Cold shouts were heard. Clearly, these disciples of the aristocratic families wanted to take over the entire Wind Moon restaurant. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran were extremely pale. However, their eyes were filled with anger. They did not expect that the other party would dare to take liberties with them in public. Beside the Jade Beauty, the handsome young man also had a face full of anger. The other party dared to harbor ill intentions towards his younger sister. This filled his heart with murderous intent. Humph! This Wind Moon restaurant is a public place. Anyone can enter and leave. But you want to take it all for yourselves. Don't you think you're too arrogant? A cold voice sounded. Clearly, they were very displeased with the behavior of the disciples of the aristocratic families. Why, do you have a problem with that? The disciples of the aristocratic families sneered. At that moment, Zhou Tian's expression darkened. Humph, looks like the warning I gave you just now was not enough. I advise you to leave obediently. Otherwise, you might have to crawl out. Don't talk big. I've long wanted to experience your blue sky fire. Let's see if your blue sky fire is more powerful than my earth fire. Earth fire? Hearing that, the disciples of the aristocratic families were stunned. Zhou Tian was also stunned. So, you're from Fire Cloud Country? I heard that Fire Cloud Country has a very powerful earth fire. Today, I'll see for myself if it's as rumored. Humph. You'll see for yourself. Then a figure walked out. Chapter 1530. He was an extremely ordinary youth, but his body was glowing with a red light. At the same time, a terrifying heat wave spread out, causing the surrounding space to quickly distort. Earth fire was a terrifying underground flame that was extremely rare. It was very famous in the nearby countries. Thus, when the red-clothed youth appeared, the surrounding cultivators all held their breaths and carefully watched. At the same time, they hoped that this youth would be able to defeat these arrogant, aristocratic family disciples and help them vent their anger. Sky Palm, Zhou Tian coldly snorted, and immediately 2 large green palms shot out, covering the sky and covering the earth, as if they were going to tear the sky apart. As for the youth from the Fire Cloud Nation, he also let out a long roar, his body emitting a fiery red light. A huge red python appeared around him, quickly forming a fiery red domain. Earth Fire Domain. This was a domain formed by boundless earth fire, and it was extremely terrifying. Just that aura alone caused the surrounding people to pale. To the side, Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes and carefully observed. He discovered that this true spirit world was truly amazing. The domains of these cultivators were too mysterious, and even he was extremely surprised. It seemed that the martial Tao of this true spirit world was countless times stronger than that of the Tianwu continent. However, facing so many geniuses, Lin Xian's expression was calm. He was extremely confident in himself. He knew that with his talent and strength, he definitely wouldn't lose to anyone. Thus, at this moment, he slowly raised his wine cup and savored it as he watched the battle. It was as if everything around him had nothing to do with him. Unfortunately, everyone was focused on the battle, and no one was watching. If someone was watching carefully, they would definitely be extremely shocked. At this moment, Lin Xian's surroundings were filled with a formless energy, causing the shock waves of the battle to be unable to approach him. It could be said that wherever he said he was, it was an absolute safe zone. Everywhere outside of him was filled with berserk energy. The surrounding cultivators had no choice but to activate their armors and king domains to defend themselves. Otherwise, they would be roasted into a bloody mist by the terrifying heat. Earth fire, burn all things. Facing the terrifying green palm, the youth from the Fire Cloud Nation also counterattacked. He snorted coldly as balls of fiery red light surged out of his body. forming an endless sea of red flames that burned in all directions. Then he threw out a punch. Suddenly, the earthly fire domain sect also trembled rapidly, forming an incomparably huge fist that violently slammed forward. It was as if the sky was about to be torn apart. In the next moment, the two different flames collided with each other, emitting an earth-shattering sound of collision. Terrifying energy swept out in all directions. Everyone was incomparably nervous because this battle concerned whether or not they could continue to stay here. If the youth from the Flaming Cloud Nation lost, then all of them would be thrown out by the disciples of these aristocratic families. At that time, they would definitely lose all face and be too ashamed to face anyone. In the sky, the red flames collided with the green flames, instantly covering half of the sky. Seeing this scene, everyone heaved a sigh of relief. Then the warriors from the surrounding countries began to sneer. Humph. I originally thought that the aristocratic families of the De Xian country had some powerful methods. I didn't expect him to be so weak. Looks like stubborn disciples are stubborn disciples who only know how to talk big. That's right. You want to chase all of us away? Dream on. How laughable. Do you really think that you can ignore everything just because you're from the De Xian country? Is this the power of an aristocratic family disciple? That's all there is to it. A group of people mocked and ridiculed. It was obvious that they were already very dissatisfied with these aristocratic family disciples, but they didn't dare to say it before. Now that they saw that someone could resist the sky fire, they immediately began to mock and ridicule. On the other hand, the aristocratic family disciples had cold smiles on their faces. Zhou Tian snorted coldly, then quickly waved his arm. The green palace flew out quickly, following his movements, blasting forward. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, and the green palace emitted an incomparably resplendent light, directly tearing apart the red flames. Then, in an extremely violent manner, it viciously crashed into the youth from the Flaming Cloud Nation. Boom! As if struck by lightning, the youth from the Flaming Shadow Nation spat out large mouthfuls of blood and flew backwards. The fiery red flames that filled the sky instantly disappeared. What? He lost! Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. As for the warriors from the surrounding countries, their faces turned pale in disbelief. Lost? How could he have lost? Weren't they evenly matched just now? What happened? How could he have lost in an instant? They really couldn't understand, and all of them were in despair. On the other hand, the aristocratic family disciples laughed loudly. How could Zhou Tian lose to someone else? Now it seems that he was indeed hiding his strength. Of course, I just wanted to play with him. But now, I'm not in the mood. Zhou Tian sneered. What? Hiding his strength? How could he still be hiding his strength? How strong is he? When the warriors from the surrounding countries heard this, their faces instantly turned pale. They didn't dare to imagine what kind of strength the other party had. On the other hand, Zhou Tian sneered. All right, everyone, we're going to have a heart-to-heart talk with the two beauties. Those who have nothing to do with it should leave quickly. Otherwise, don't blame me for starting a massacre. Don't be so arrogant. I'll do it. Jade Beauty's brother roared and took a step forward. His body emitted an extremely terrifying energy. At the same time, the surrounding warriors also looked ferocious, and the auras from their bodies were linked together, as if they were going to collapse the entire sky. In an instant, the aura of energy swept through the entire void. In fact, there were even cracks in many places. What? You want to fight? Zhou Tian sneered, and the other aristocratic family disciples also snorted. Then they stood together and unleashed their regal domains. Suddenly, a monstrous and terrifying aura spread out, as if 100,000 mountains were pressing down on the sky. Immediately, the surrounding warriors were all pushed back. What? So strong? How is that possible? How can they be so strong? The warriors from the surrounding countries shook their heads frantically, unable to believe it. They were too strong. There were only 5 of them, but the aura they emitted was more terrifying than the dozens of people on their side. It was as if a wild beast was looking down on them. This made them feel a sense of despair. Humph, stubborn. Since you want to die, don't blame me for not showing mercy. Zhou Tian snorted coldly, waved his large black palm, and quickly slapped out. Immediately, the few cultivators in the vicinity were all sent flying. In an instant, more than 10 warriors were sent flying out of the Fengyuan brothel. As for the remaining people, their expressions were even uglier. Chapter 1531. However, the surrounding disciples of the aristocratic families also quickly took action and threw all these people out. Don't do anything. We'll leave on our own. Soon, the local martial artists of the Great Xian Empire quickly left. As for the martial artists of the surrounding countries, they were mercilessly thrown out. The Wind Moon Tavern, which was originally packed with people, was now much less crowded, leaving behind countless empty spaces. Damn it! The youth from the Fire Cloud Nation roared angrily. He wanted to counterattack again, but he was once again sent flying by the green flames. I can't accept this. Han Kun also roared angrily. He used his metal domain and attacked again. In the end, he was sent flying by a single punch from an aristocratic family disciple. Damn it! How dare you touch my sister? I'll fight you to the death. That handsome youth was in a frenzy, but he was mercilessly thrown out by an aristocratic family disciple. In an instant, only the Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran were left in the Wind Moon restaurant. Their faces were pale. They wanted to escape, but they were held in place by an invisible force and could not move at all. All right, we've finally thrown away those annoying ants. Now we can have a good talk. The aristocratic family disciples laughed and walked forward. But soon they frowned, and a trace of coldness appeared in their eyes, because they realized that there was a figure sitting by the window, Zhou Tian, and the others realized that there was a person sitting by the window. They were extremely surprised because they did not expect that there would be someone who dared to be here. Moreover, they had not noticed before. Immediately, the aristocratic family disciples' faces darkened, and one of them said coldly, "Are you deaf? Why are you still here? Get out of here." However, the figure in the distance did not move. He continued to lean against the window and drink alone. Seeing this scene, several people frowned. Even the Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran were puzzled. They did not expect that there would be someone who dared to be here. Could it be that this person is an expert? A glimmer of hope rose in their hearts, but soon they laughed bitterly because they realized that the other party's aura was pitifully weak. He had just entered the King realm. How could such a person be an expert? With a sigh, the two of them could not help but worry about that figure. The aristocratic family disciple who had scolded him earlier also had a dark expression. He didn't expect that the other party would dare to ignore him. This made him furious. A moment later, he laughed viciously and shouted coldly. This time, the voice contained an incomparably powerful energy that rushed forward. "Since you want to die, I'll fulfill your wish." His voice turned into a murderous sound wave that quickly blasted forward. This sound wave was extremely terrifying. Even a 2-star King realm expert would not be able to block it, let alone the figure in front of him. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran cried out in surprise, while the disciples of the aristocratic families sneered. Anyone who dared to go against them would definitely end up in a miserable state. However, in the next moment, All of them widened their eyes. That was because that terrifying sound wave surged forward, but it suddenly disappeared like a stone sinking into the sea. What's going on? It didn't work? The disciples of the aristocratic families all frowned. As for the person who had attacked earlier, he had a gloomy expression. Impossible. How could I have failed? Brat, who are you? How did you dodge my attack? As an expert, it was impossible for him to miss, so the other party must have used some unknown method to dodge his attack. The figure sitting in front was naturally Lin Xian. Previously, when these disciples of the aristocratic families were fighting with the warriors from the surrounding countries, he had only watched without any intention of interfering, because these matters had nothing to do with him. However, just because he didn't cause trouble didn't mean that he was afraid of trouble. Later, these disciples of the aristocratic families chased everyone out of Wind Moon Restaurant, which undoubtedly made him unhappy. After all, he was also drinking in Wind Moon Restaurant now. Now the other party was even more aggressive and wanted to attack him. How could he tolerate that? In the next moment, Lin Xian frowned and said coldly, "What's the matter? Is it very difficult to dodge your attack?" Although his voice was steady, it contained a trace of disdain. It was as if dodging that murderous sound wave was an extremely ordinary thing. "How dare you be so arrogant in front of me? Do you know who I am?" The disciple of the aristocratic family's face was gloomy, and his voice was cold and murderous. "Who you are has nothing to do with me. As long as you don't disturb me while I'm drinking, I won't attack you," Lin Xian said slowly. "What? You still want to attack me?" When the disciples of the aristocratic families heard that, they were so angry that they laughed. "Good, good, good. Kid, looks like the warning I gave you just now wasn't enough. What? Do you want me to break your legs personally and make you crawl here? Only then will you be afraid, right? What's the point of talking to him? Just break his legs and throw him out. Don't waste our time here. Yeah. Don't you see the two beauties beside him waiting anxiously? Ha ha ha, kid, you don't know what's good for you. Consider yourself unlucky to be in our line of fire. I think there's no need to throw you out. It'll save us a lot of trouble if we just kill you." "All right, I'll do it. I'll burn him to ashes. That way, nothing will be left and he won't ruin our fun," Zhou Tian said nonchalantly. Then he struck out with his palm. To be honest, he did not care about Lin Xian at all, because he had already checked earlier on. Lin Xian was only a one-star king. This kind of cultivation did not interest him at all. After all, even a 3-star king might not be a match for him, much less a 1-star king. The next moment, a green flame flew out from between his fingers and quickly floated toward Lin Xian. When they saw the green flame, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran screamed again. This was not the first time the green flame had appeared, and each time it displayed great power. When the assassin used it again, the other party would not be able to resist. They were not the only ones. The surrounding ancient martial art practitioners also cried out in alarm, because although those ancient martial art practitioners had been sent flying, they had not left. They were all watching from the vicinity of Fengyue brothel. However, Zhou Tian and the others had set up an array around Fengyue brothel. They could only see the situation inside, but could not enter. Even if they tried to break the array forcefully, they could not break it. They could only wait anxiously outside. Earlier on, when they saw that there was someone else in Fengyue brothel, they were all shocked. But when they saw that the other party was only a 1-star king, they immediately shook their heads and sighed, because such a person would not be of any use at all. He would only be killed. But when the other party successfully dispelled the murderous sound wave, they all cried out in alarm, because they did not know what method the other party had used to dispel the murderous sound wave. However, there were even more people who attributed what had happened earlier to luck. Luck had saved the other party. Chapter 1532. But now, Zhou Tian had used the fire of Chu by Luo again. This made them nervous again. The reason for that was because they knew that no one would be able to resist the flames. A green flame quickly floated out like a will-o'-the-wisp and instantly enveloped Lin Xian. The green light shone brightly. With just a little bit of strength, it could burn an expert to ashes. Lin Xian was still calm. Facing the terrifying fire of Chu Bai Luo, he only turned his head slightly. Then, a ball of black light appeared in his eyes. A ball of black flame appeared out of nowhere and blasted forward like a flood. It was very strange. What? He wants to resist? What an idiot! Doesn't he know the power of the fire of Chu Bai Luo? The disciples shook their heads and sneered. The surrounding martial artists also sighed. They knew that any method would be useless in front of the fire of Chu Bai Luo. Chi. In the next moment, the two balls of flames collided in the air. Then there was a flash of light, but no sound was heard. Then the two balls of flames disappeared in the air. What? He blocked it? How is that possible? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. The disciples were even more shocked. They knew how powerful the fire of Chu Bai Luo was. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it. But now Lin Xian had blocked it. No way, am I seeing things? He blocked the fire of Chu Bai Luo? What is that ball of black flame? How can it block the fire of Chu Bai Luo? Damn it, who is this kid? How did he do it? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. It was obvious that this scene had truly surprised everyone. This time, even Zhou Tian was anxious. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to resist his fire of Chu Bai Luo. The martial artists outside also widened their eyes in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. That was the fire of Chu Bai Luo. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it. It was extremely terrifying and invincible. But now, it was blocked by someone? Moreover, the one who blocked, it was a 1-star king. This was too unbelievable. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian in bewilderment. No matter how they looked at him, he didn't look like a peerless expert. Could it be that this kid is hiding his cultivation? The faces of the disciples of the aristocratic families were also gloomy, while Zhou Tian sneered, "Good, good, good. I didn't think that I would have misjudged you. You are also an expert. But let me tell you, that was just a casual attack. It's nothing if you can take it, but if you can take my next attack, then I'll be impressed. However, if you can't take it, then you can only be killed. This is what you get for messing with me." As he spoke, his body flickered with light. Boundless blue sky flames flickered rapidly. Then, a huge flaming palm appeared in the wind. Its terrifying aura covered the sky and dyed the entire space green. Pung! The green flaming hand slapped towards Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian raised his finger. Countless black flames danced on his fingertip, forming a black long sword that quickly slashed forward. Boom! In the next moment, Bai Luo's palm collided with the black longsword, causing a terrifying tremor. These were two extremely terrifying flames. When they collided, the impact was even more frightening. Just the shock waves from the collision alone could probably destroy the entire Fengyue brothel. However, to everyone's surprise, the shock waves did not spread, and the Fengyue brothel remained unscathed. The reason was simple. Lin Xian and Zhou Tian's control of energy was very precise. Both of them fought within a controlled range and did not cause any damage to the Fengyue brothel. How terrifying! Even the disciples of the aristocratic families were frowning. Not only did the other party possess mysterious black flames that could compete with Zhou Tian's Bai Luo flames, but his control of energy was also no weaker than Zhou Tian's. Based on these 2 points alone, the other party was definitely an expert. But who was this person? Why hadn't they seen him before? Zhou Tian's expression turned solemn when he saw this. Good, good, good. I didn't expect to meet an expert like you in the Fengyue brothel today, but don't be too smug. Next, I will show you my true strength and let you know the true power of Bailuo flames. If you can't block it, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, countless black flames gathered to form a green palace. It looked like a celestial palace and exuded frightening energy. Then Zhou Tian activated the Emerald Palace and blasted it forward. Suddenly, a frightening explosion of energy swept toward Lin Xian like a storm. Everyone's expression changed. When they sensed this energy, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren quickly retreated to a safe place. The disciples of the aristocratic families also looked solemn. This was because they had never seen Zhou Tian so serious before. Even when he fought with the warrior from Fire Cloud Country, he was casual and calm. But now, it seemed that Zhou Tian was serious. Could it be that this youth was really so frightening that Zhou Tian would take him seriously? The Green Palace was mysterious and flashed with incomparable energy, causing everyone to tremble. However, Lin Xian's expression remained calm. He quickly formed a seal with his palms, and a black demon beast quickly took shape. It was a black phoenix that exuded black flames all over its body. It was extremely frightening. As Lin Xian pushed his palms out, the black phoenix roared and charged forward. He exuded a frightening energy fluctuation that made everyone tremble in fear. The black light shone and lit up the entire sky. The frightening black phoenix flew quickly in the sky like a real mythical beast. On the other side, Zhou Tian brought the frightening Green Palace and attacked quickly. In the next moment, the two collided. Suddenly, a frightening explosion of energy formed an energy storm that spread rapidly in all directions, and a black hole appeared in the void. Countless cracks appeared on the mysterious Green Palace, as if it would collapse at any moment. Zhou Tian's face was pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. This energy was so frightening that it sent Zhou Tian flying. Not only that, but the two disciples of the aristocratic families who were standing at the front also suffered a heavy blow and flew backward. Their faces were extremely pale, and they looked terrified. They did not expect that just the aftermath of the energy would send them flying. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded, especially the warriors outside. Their eyes were wide open, unable to believe what they were seeing. They did not expect that the powerful Zhou Tian and the disciples of the aristocratic families would be sent flying in an instant. What kind of technique was this? It was too frightening. Chapter 1533. In the restaurant, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren also widened their beautiful eyes. Their small mouths were agape, and they looked extremely shocked. They did not believe that someone could send Zhou Tian flying with one move. As for the remaining two martial artists from the aristocratic families, they looked very serious. Terrifying light burst from their eyes. They were like two long rainbows trying to see through Lin Xian. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Zhou Tian, who was so powerful, could not even withstand a single blow from the other party. This huge contrast made them unable to believe what they were seeing. What was even more shocking was that the other party was only a one-star king. So powerful. Who exactly is he? Outside, Han Kuan, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation, and Jade Beauty's brother were all shocked. Zhou Tian did not seem to be from the great Xian Empire. Could he be a martial artist from a neighboring country? But other than demonic blade Ren Tianya, who else could be so powerful? No one could figure it out. Lin Xian was expressionless. He said calmly, "I told you not to disturb me when I was drinking, but you didn't listen. Now you have a taste of your own medicine." With that, he shook his head slightly and ignored the crowd. He sat back down, picked up a cup of spirit wine, and drank it slowly. Shocking, it was too shocking. He sent Zhou Tian and the two disciples flying with one move, but it was as if it was the most normal thing. His expression was calm, and he was neither surprised nor happy. This was a true powerhouse. He could shock everyone with just a raise of his hand. Whoosh! On the other side, Zhou Tian and the two disciples quickly returned. They were like lightning and appeared in front of Lin Xian again. Zhou Tian's hair was disheveled, and his expression was ferocious. He asked coldly, "Damn it, who are you?" To be honest, he was indeed shocked. He did not believe that someone could send him flying with one move. Moreover, he was very confident in his blue sky fire. Even a 3-star king was not his match. But now the other party, a 1-star king, had sent him flying. He could not believe it. Beside him, the two disciples were even more shocked because they were only swept by the aftershock. However, the shock wave still sent them flying. They couldn't accept this and glared fiercely at Lin Xian. "It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is that you don't bully others in the future. Otherwise, one day, your end will be even worse than now." Lin Xian glanced at the few of them and said plainly, "You're courting death." Zhou Tian roared furiously and quickly attacked. Being blasted away in public made him lose all face, so he could only kill this kid in front of him to vent the hatred in his heart and clear his name. The other two disciples from aristocratic families had the same thought. Thus, at this moment, they attacked together. The three disciples of the large families displayed unparalleled power and instantly unleashed their king's domains, quickly killing Lin Xian. In an instant, a terrifying light appeared. A biting, cold, murderous intent shrouded the world and quickly locked onto Lin Xian. 3 king's domains flew out and tore the void apart. Zhou Tian and the other 2 were extremely powerful. Even 3-star kings were no match for them. Now that they were attacking, they were even more terrifying. The entire void trembled violently. The expressions of those who were watching the battle from afar changed drastically, and they were extremely frightened. This was because they realized that this aura was enough to kill all of them. Not good. That person is in danger. In the outside world, Han Kuen's face turned serious when he saw this scene. Damn it, those people are too shameless. How dare they gang up on one person? The youth from Flaming Cloud gritted his teeth and roared. They were naturally on Lin Xian's side because Lin Xian had helped them send the disciples of the aristocratic families flying, which allowed them to vent their anger. But now it seemed that Lin Xian was in extreme danger. With the 3 disciples of the aristocratic families attacking together, no one would be able to defeat them. A ball of green flames danced and condensed an extremely terrifying energy. This was the blue sky flame. Above this flame, there was a palace-like figure. It was incomparably mysterious and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Beside it, a blue light blade flew out quickly and tore the void apart. This was the ultimate technique of another disciple of the aristocratic families. The last person was equally terrifying. A white light, like a divine light, surrounded by a murderous aura, was incomparably fierce. The 3 of them attacked with extreme power. In the blink of an eye, the 3 deadly attacks arrived in front of Lin Xian and slashed down. Lin Xian's body also emitted black flames, which quickly met the blue sky flame. At the same time, a sharp sword chi surged out and met the biting, cold, murderous aura. As for the blue light blade, Lin Xian directly punched it. Boom! The fist was wrapped in green sword chi, and it fiercely slammed into the blue light blade. Immediately, a crisp sound of metal clashing could be heard. The sound was trembling, and it directly tore the void apart. As for the blue light blade, it quickly trembled and was sent flying. In an instant, the light on the blue light blade dimmed significantly, but it did not crack. One could imagine that it was definitely a precious treasure. Puff! The blue light blade was sent flying, and one of the disciples immediately took 3 steps back. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not expect his opponent to be so strong. In an instant, his ultimate move was sent flying, and he was also severely injured. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they did not even have time to exclaim. The situation on the battlefield changed again. In the next moment, Lin Xian directly used the Dragon Sword realm. Immediately, Green Sword Qi rapidly attacked. Boom boom! The white divine light and the blue sky flame were both hit by the sharp sword Qi. They were instantly sent flying, and their light dimmed. Puff! Zhou Tian and the other disciple also spat out a mouthful of blood, and their faces were full of shock. They really could not believe that their opponent was so strong. Previously, they were sent flying because they were careless, but now it was different. The 3 of them had gathered all their strength to attack their opponent, but they were still sent flying. Furthermore, the 3 of them were severely injured. This meant that their opponent's strength was definitely far beyond theirs. Are you all okay? When the last 2 disciples saw this scene, they immediately rushed forward to support Zhou Tian and the other 2. At the same time, they looked at Lin Xian warily. This was because their opponent was too terrifying. Even if the 2 of them attacked again, they might not be able to take him down. Seeing the cautious look on their faces, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. You all can leave. I won't kill you, but remember, don't be so arrogant in the future. Then he waved his hand, and a green sword Qi flew out, instantly shattering the defensive formation. Seeing the scene, the people outside were even more shocked. This formation could not be broken even if all of them attacked together. But a casual sword Qi from their opponent blasted it open. The difference in strength made them extremely shocked. Chapter 1534. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The warriors outside immediately rushed in when they saw that the array was broken. The fastest to enter were Jade Beauty's brother, Han Kuan, and the youth from Fire Cloud Country. Sister, are you all right? The handsome youth came to Jade Beauty's side and asked with concern. The other warriors also came to Bai Yuren's side nervously. Then they all came to Lin Xian. Young hero, thank you for saving my sister. Jade Beauty's brother and the warriors from the Bai family looked at Lin Xian with gratitude. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren also came to Lin Xian and bowed slowly. Young master, thank you for saving us. Both of them blushed and looked at Lin Xian with deep adoration in their eyes. Lin Xian's previous actions were like a hero saving the beauties. When the 2 beauties were in danger, Lin Xian casually injured the enemy. This kind of shock went straight to the bottom of their hearts. Moreover, Lin Xian was powerful and handsome. Such a person was a hero in the hearts of the young girls. In addition, this world worshipped the strong. So it was not strange that Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren adored Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled and said, You're too polite. It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. With that, Lin Xian nodded slightly to them and turned to leave. Wait, seeing that Lin Xian was about to leave, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren became nervous, and a trace of anxiety flashed across their beautiful eyes. I haven't asked for your name. Where are you from, so that I can repay you in the future? No need. Lin Xian shook his head slightly and turned around again. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuren sighed when they saw this. There was deep disappointment on their faces, and the surrounding people were even more heartbroken when they saw this scene. Needless to say, these 2 beautiful women were still in love with Lin Xian. Most likely, it would be difficult for others to succeed. What shocked them even more was that Lin Xian was not moved at all. He directly left without even leaving his name. One had to know that these were 2 peerless beauties. If they were to beckon, there would probably be tens of thousands of martial artists who would risk their lives for them. But now, he had left so decisively without the slightest hesitation. This really shocked them to the core. Wait, just when everyone thought that Lin Xian was about to leave, another low voice sounded. Then, a few figures blocked his path. When they saw those people, the crowd was shocked. As for Lin Xian, he frowned. This was because the people blocking his path were none other than Zhou Tian and the other disciples from the aristocratic families. What? You're still not convinced? Do you still want to fight? However, if you continue to hit him, it won't be as simple as just injuring him. Lin Xian's gaze was somewhat cold. No, you've misunderstood. We have no intention of attacking again. Zhou Tian quickly shook his head and said, We just want to make friends with you. That's right, brother. Where are you from? What's your name? Where's your sex inheritance? Why don't you come to the Zhou family? I'll definitely give you the best treatment. Don't worry. You're not a slave, but an honored guest. That's right. Our family will also give you the best treatment, brother. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect that these disciples from the aristocratic families were here to win him over. However, this was not his ambition, so he shook his head slightly. There's no need. I have other matters to attend to. Then his figure flashed and instantly disappeared on the spot. Brother! The disciples from the aristocratic families still wanted to say something, but they realized that the other party had already disappeared. They could not catch him at all. What kind of body movement is that? They were shocked and widened their eyes. This kind of body movement was beyond their knowledge. Looking at Lin Xian's departing figure, everyone had different feelings. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran were a little sad. Jade Beauty's brother could not bear to watch any longer and had to comfort her. Sister, don't be discouraged. That person is so powerful. He might be here to participate in the martial arts conference. That's right. The martial arts conference. He must be here to participate in the martial arts conference. Jade Beauty was delighted. Beside her, Bai Yuran's eyes were also shining. After hearing that, everyone around them nodded. Indeed, the other party had appeared at this time and was so powerful. He must be here for the martial arts conference. Zhou Tian and the other disciples from the aristocratic families kept nodding when they heard that. Then they were puzzled. I wonder which prince invited this master? Could it be the third prince? It could also be the eldest prince. Only they can invite such a young master. Everyone nodded. They had to go to the martial arts conference to take a look. Perhaps they could really meet him. Even if they did not meet him, they would not miss such a grand occasion. The martial arts conference was not as serious as everyone had imagined. It was not as serious as it would be in the ring. It was a game between the princes and princesses. Based on the royal families means it would not be in the ring. Instead, it would be in the name of learning from each other. Yamba Villa was a very famous place in the imperial city. It was an ancient city that had a history of thousands of years. It was rumored that a villa had been built when the Great Xian Empire was founded. The martial arts conference was held in the Misty Wave Mountain Villa. That morning, the entire imperial city was in an uproar. Many ancient martial art practitioners hurriedly rushed to Yamba Villa. They were too excited because there were too many people who had come to watch the competition. If they were late, they might not even be able to enter. Yamba Villa was magnificent and picturesque. There was even a faint layer of clouds surrounding the villa, which added to the artistic conception. Early in the morning, the entire Yamba Mountain Villa was already crowded with people. Fortunately, Yamba Villa was big enough to accommodate all these people. Most of the people who came to watch the competition this time were the younger generation of ancient martial art practitioners. At this moment, it could be said that all the elites and talents of the aristocratic families in the Great Xian Empire had gathered here. Not only that, but the genius ancient martial art practitioners of the surrounding countries had also come. It could be said that this was a rare grand occasion. There were even people placing bets here. For a moment, it could be said that it was very lively. Of course, the favorite to win was Jiang Nantian, the third prince's subordinate. There was also Han Li, the first prince's subordinate. These two people could be said to be unrivaled in the younger generation of the great Xian Empire. And in this martial arts conference, these two people's names were the most famous. In the Misty Wave Mountain Villa, among the crowd, a fat man in a golden robe was looking around. He seemed to be looking for someone. "Fatty Luo, what are you looking for? I'll bet with you that you absolutely won't find it." Beside him, a youth with a thin figure said with a smile. Chapter 1535. Fatty Luo, what are you looking for? I'll bet you won't find it. A skinny young man beside him said with a smile. "Gambler, you only know how to spend all day. Do you know anything else?" Fatty Luo was impatient. "Don't disturb me. I'm looking for someone." "Looking for someone? Let me guess. I bet it's a woman." "Ha ha, you guessed wrong this time. It's a man." "Damn. Fatty Luo, when did you change your orientation? Why didn't I know?" The youth subconsciously took 2 steps back. "Get lost. You're the one who changed your orientation. It's someone I met on the way. He's very interesting. I think he should be participating in the martial arts conference." "Oh, who is it?" The youth was interested. "Forget it. I didn't find him. I'll tell you when he makes his move." Fatty Luo shook his head. Then the two of them went back into the crowd and disappeared. On the other side, Zhou Tian and the other disciples of the aristocratic families were also greeting people. However, Zhou Tian and the others were somewhat absent-minded, as if they were also looking for someone. "What's wrong? Why do you look uneasy?" someone asked. Zhou Tian shook his head. "Nothing." However, he muttered in his heart, "Damn it. Will that guy come to the martial arts conference or not?" Not only him, but Jade Beauty by Yuran and the others also looked somewhat anxious. In the depths of Misty Wave Mountain Manor, 2 beautiful women were strolling on the grass. One of them had a cold temperament. It was the disciple of the Pill Institute, Chu Yu. The other woman was also beautiful. She wore a phoenix robe and a phoenix crown. She had the aura of a superior. She was the great Xian Empire's Princess Kaidai. At this moment, the two were strolling. Princess Katie's expression was somewhat solemn. She still hadn't found a candidate who could fight against Jiang Nantian and Han Li. Therefore, it would be difficult for him to rush into the first echelon this time. Princess Kaidai thought of something and slowly asked, "By the way, is the person you told me about here?" "He should be here, but he didn't report," Chuyu replied. "But I'm sure he'll be back." "That's because I possess the conditions that he wants." "That's good." Hearing this, Princess Kaidai nodded, but she didn't care too much. According to the information she received, that person was at most a 2-star king. However, what she lacked the most was someone who could contend against Jiang Nantian and Han Li. "Princess, it's almost time. Let's go," Chuyu said. "All right." Princess Kaidai nodded. Then, the two of them flew into the distance like countless streams of light. At this moment, the crowd in the Yamba Mountain Villa was once again in an uproar. That was because the princes and princesses had all arrived. The third prince was a handsome young man. He held a folding fan in his hand, and his entire person was extremely carefree. Countless experts gathered around him. They were all incomparably powerful, making people look up to them. The first prince, on the other hand, was different. He was burly like a fiend god and exuded a domineering aura. His expression was as if he was the ruler of the world. When the first prince and the third prince arrived, they looked at each other. With a cold snort, the first prince led his talented dancers to a pavilion. As for the third prince, he narrowed his eyes and led everyone to another pavilion. Everyone held their breaths in shock. They didn't expect that the two strongest princes would make their move. However, at this moment, someone shouted, "Look, Princess Kaidai has also arrived." Princess Kaidai could be said to be a legend among the many princes of the great Qian Empire. She stood in the second echelon. She could definitely be said to be a blessed daughter of the heavens. Thus, her arrival caused a huge commotion. This was because not only was Princess Kaidai a legend, but she was also a stunning beauty. Her combined attractiveness didn't lose out to the first prince and the third prince. That should be Fairy Chuyu, right? Everyone looked forward and discovered that beside Princess Kaidai stood a cold and aloof woman. The two descended like celestial immortals. Then, many powerful martial artists walked forward. Soon, they stopped in front of Princess Kaidai. They were Princess Kaidai's subordinates. A group of people also occupied a pavilion. After them, there were other princes and princesses. Soon, the surrounding pavilions were all occupied, and in the center was a huge lake. It was dark green, like it had been washed. The battle later would be carried out on this lake. At the beginning, it was considered a few warm-up matches. A few ordinary princes sent out their subordinates to spar. But even so, everyone still watched with relish, because none of those who could go on stage were weak. The weakest was a two-star king. Lin Xian had also arrived, but he had arrived rather late. By the time he arrived, the battle between the princes had already begun. He stood in the crowd like a spectator, silently watching the battle. Familiar voices came from the front. It turned out that the one who was participating was Han Kuan. Although Han Kuan was a martial artist of the Golden Jade country, he came this time to participate in the martial arts convention, because as long as he showed some talent here, he would definitely be famous throughout the great Qian Empire. At that time, he might even be fancied by some powerful sections. Therefore, although this martial arts convention was a game between the princes and princesses, there were also many genius martial artists from the surrounding countries. Bang, bang. Han Kuan's whole body emitted a golden light. Between his moves, there was a fierce offensive. Soon, he defeated a few martial artists. For a moment, everyone was discussing. They had no choice. Although the great Qian Empire was strong, Han Kuan was a three-star king after all. Ordinary people were no match for him, unless they were disciples of powerful families like Zhou Tian. While everyone was discussing, the princes and princesses could not stand it anymore. This was a game between the princes of the great Qian Empire. Now, that a martial artist of the Golden Jade country was showing off, it made them lose face. Hee, looks like it's time for us to take action. The third prince waved the folding fan in his hand and said with a smile, "Humph, he's just a guy who doesn't know his place. Let me take care of him." A bald youth on the third prince's side said quickly. This youth was the one who had mocked Dong Qianshan previously. He must be a powerful figure. At this moment, seeing Blood Monk take the initiative to ask for a fight, the third prince smiled. "With you taking action, I'm relieved." Whoosh. In the next moment, Blood Monk's figure flashed, and he appeared in the arena. He floated above the lake, his whole body emitting a powerful aura. "Kid, I'll play with you. I'll let you know that this is the great Qian Empire. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously." Chapter 1536. Kid, I'll play with you. I'll let you know that this is the Qian Empire. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously. Humph. Han Kuan snorted coldly. He had come this time to make a name for himself. Therefore, he was naturally happy to see that the other party was a powerful martial artist. Only by defeating a genius could he quickly become famous. Kill. With a furious roar, Han Kun instantly unleashed the metal domain. His entire body seemed to be covered in a layer of gold, shining with golden light like a golden giant. With a punch, golden light filled the entire sky. "Haha, petty tricks. Watch me break you." Opposite him, Blood Monk laughed loudly. He also unleashed a blood-colored domain that emitted a monstrous smell of blood. In an instant, his eyes became extremely red, and a pair of blood-colored wings appeared on his back. The blood-colored saber in his hand was bright red and emitted a monstrous killing intent. At this moment, this arrogant youth seemed to have turned into a demon, surrounded by a blood-colored light. "Break!" With a cold laugh, Blood Monk waved the blood-colored saber in his hand. Suddenly, a blood-colored saber light burst forth. It was extremely terrifying and swept across the entire sky. This blood-colored saber light was too terrifying. It was like a blood-colored river that shook the void. In the next moment, a light flashed, and the blood-colored saber cut the golden fist in half. Not only that, the entire void was split open, and a black crack appeared. The lake below stirred up thousands of waves that crashed in all directions. "What? It's broken!" Han Kun's pupils constricted. He did not expect the other party's attack to be so fierce. In the blink of an eye, the dim, blood-colored saber light was still slashing toward him. "Retreat!" His figure swayed, and he turned into a streak of golden light and quickly retreated. "Want to leave? That's not up to you." Blood Monk laughed sinisterly, and the saber in his hand vibrated again. Instantly, 8 crimson rays of light shot out from his body. These blood-colored saber lights were too terrifying. They were like 8 blood-colored dragons that roared ferociously. The blood-colored saber lights that filled the sky instantly enveloped Han Kun. Boom, boom. Han Kun was beaten until he spat out blood and flew backward. What? He was defeated so quickly? All the surrounding warriors widened their eyes in disbelief. Who's that bald youth? How could it be so terrifying? Even a 3-star king is no match for him? Everyone exclaimed. Jade Beauty and the others' faces changed once again. They didn't expect that there would be so many experts in the martial arts conference. It hadn't been long since the battle started, and Han Kun had already lost. "Humph, with your little ability, don't come here to make a fool of yourself." Monk Shui looked ferocious and disdainful. "Who is this? So powerful? You don't even know him?" "He's the bloody monk, ranked 9th, under the 3rd prince." Everyone was discussing. And at this time, that blood monk spoke once more. "This martial competition is a grand occasion of the Dacian Empire. Those ants from the surrounding countries shouldn't come out and make a spectacle of themselves." This voice was filled with arrogance and provocation. Immediately, the warriors from the surrounding countries who had come to participate in the war were enraged. Among them, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation was the fastest to rush out. In an instant, he summoned the fiery red earth fire domain. Instantly, endless flames soared into the sky, and a sea of fire spread out. His speed was very fast, and he arrived in front of Monk Shui in an instant. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying wave of fire surged forward. Immediately, the lake below was evaporated, forming a mist that filled the surroundings. What a terrifying flame. "Who is this guy?" Everyone was shocked and retreated. "This is an expert from Fire Cloud Nation." What a terrifying flame power. Many people were shocked. In the crowd, Zhou Tian and the others shook their heads slightly when they saw this. No way. Monk Shui was a true expert. The people from the surrounding countries had no chance of winning against him. Only if that person was here would it work. Indeed, as soon as he said that, the situation in front of him changed. Monk Shui sneered and slashed out with his long saber. Immediately, A blood-red light soared into the sky with a biting cold, murderous intent, shattering the void. Boom! The sea of fire in the sky was split open by the saber. Not only that, the blood-red saber light slashed at the youth from Fire Cloud Nation, sending him flying a few thousand meters away. Humph! I've said it before. You can't even withstand a single blow. Monk Shui held the long saber in his hand and stood in the void. His entire body was emitting a monstrous, murderous intent. He was like a demon. In the sky, the blood-red saber light gradually disappeared, and the crack in the void that was split open was quickly mending. However, the lake below was evaporated, but it did not matter. Soon, a middle-aged man walked out. He formed a seal with his hands and shouted coldly. Immediately, a boundless amount of dark blue seawater gushed out from his mouth, filling up the dried-up lake once again. In an instant, everything was restored to its original state. Only the expert from Fire Cloud Nation was injured again. Monk Shui did not mind that he had defeated the expert from Fire Cloud Nation. Then he turned his gaze and stared at Princess Kaidai. I heard that Princess Kaidai has recently taken in a mysterious expert who even defeated Dong Qianshan. I wonder where he is. Would you like to have a battle with him? Hearing this, the crowd exclaimed in surprise. On the other hand, Dong Qianshan's face was terrifyingly gloomy. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Despicable. Too despicable. His opponent was obviously rubbing salt into his wound. Humph! With a third prince here, it was impossible for him to fight Monk Shui, so he could only snort. At the same time, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In his opinion, even if Monk Shui was stronger than him, he might not be able to defeat his opponent. It was very likely that Monk Shui would be defeated like him. Thinking of this, he immediately took pleasure in Monk Shui's misfortune. The surrounding martial artists also exclaimed in surprise. The news of Dong Qianshan's defeat had already spread. They had also heard about it. At this moment, when they saw that Monk Shui was going to challenge the mysterious expert, they immediately became interested. Many people applauded and cheered. However, the atmosphere on Princess Katie's side was a little different. That was because Lin Xian did not come at all. Chu Yu's expression was a little awkward as he muttered in his heart, "That damned guy, what is he doing? Why hasn't he appeared yet?" The experts under Princess Katie's command also looked dissatisfied. Humph! What mysterious expert! He's probably just a coward. He hasn't appeared until now. How can such a coward be called an expert? That damned guy, he doesn't dare to appear. He has embarrassed us for nothing. These people were very dissatisfied with the mysterious expert. In the crowd, Fatty Luo also exclaimed softly. His eyes flickered. "Why don't you guess who that mysterious expert is?" "Oh, you want to bet with me?" Beside him, the young man said with a smile, "I bet that this person is definitely not ordinary. He's already here." "How you know?" Fatty Luo asked. Chapter 1537. Since it's a bet, of course it's a guess. What? Do you dare to bet? Let's bet. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Fatty Luo snorted. On the other side, Zhou Tian and the others frowned when they heard this. For some reason, a figure suddenly appeared in their minds. Damn it, these two can't be the same person, right? They thought of the handsome youth who had defeated them at the Wind Moon brothel. When they thought of this possibility, they sucked in a breath of cold air. In the crowd, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. The other party was naturally talking about him, but he didn't immediately make a move. In his opinion, the other party wasn't worth his time. The other party was ranked 9th under the third prince and was stronger than Dong Qianshan, but not by much. To be honest, Lin Xian wasn't interested in such a person. The ones he truly wanted to fight were Jiang Nantian and Han Li. These two had great reputations among the younger generation of the great Xian Empire. On the way, he had heard many legends about them. Only such a person was worthy of being his opponent. Thus, although the other party was arrogant, he didn't make a move. After waiting for a long time, no one came out. Monk Shue's expression turned sinister as he looked at Princess Kai-Dai again. What could it be that the princess doesn't want him to come out? That person was indeed invited by me, but it's not up to me whether or not you can make him fight, Princess Kai-Dai said indifferently. From the beginning to the end, she was calm and collected, with a calm expression. To be honest, she hadn't seen that mysterious expert yet. However, she cleverly avoided this matter. If the other party didn't make a move, it meant that Monk Shui didn't have the ability. If the other party made a move, it would further prove her words. Thus, this could be considered a tactful rejection. Humph! Monk Shui snorted. If you don't dare to fight, then so be it. Princess, there's no need to be so tactful. You're courting death. Is the princess's word something you can question? With a cold shout, a figure flew out from Princess Katie's pavilion. That person moved like lightning and flew out of the pavilion in an instant, arriving in the sky. This was a young man in silver armor. He had a small mustache, and his entire person looked extremely fierce. You? No. The blood monk looked at him and laughed coldly. Then he quickly shook his head. What did you say? The mustache man was furious. You're the 9th-ranked warrior. And so am I. Why can't I do it? Today, I will let you know how powerful I am. Humph! I'm ranked 9th under the 3rd prince. What about you? At this point, Monk Shui no longer spoke. However, the contempt in his words was very obvious. You're courting death. Infuriated, the mustached man clenched his fist, and a silver spear swiftly materialized in his hand. Then he thrust out his spear. Like a silver bolt of lightning, it streaked across the void, and a terrifying aura gushed out instantly. Clang! On the other side, Monk Shui slashed out with his blade as well. Suddenly, the two of them collided with each other, producing a deafening clang. The blood-red saber light crisscrossed, the silver light rushed to the heavens, and the terrifying energy surged like an ocean. The sky was instantly enveloped by the two energies. Only two blurry figures could be seen colliding with each other. Pung! Another earth-shattering sound was heard, and then the man with the mustache was sent flying. Humph, I've said it before. You're no match for me. What? He's defeated so quickly? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Could the difference in strength between Princess Kai-Dai and the 3rd prince be so great? As everyone discussed, Princess Katie's face turned grave. Indeed, both of them were ranked 9th, but the difference in strength was so obvious. This undoubtedly showed that there was still a big gap between her and the 3rd prince. Thinking of this, Princess Kai-Dai frowned slightly. As for the martial artists beside her, their faces were also gloomy. Looking at the situation, it would be useless even if the others went up. They could only send out the top 5 experts. However, the opponent was only ranked 9th. If they sent out the top 5 experts, they would not be able to fight in the future. Therefore, for a moment, Princess Katie's side was quiet. Monk Shui had a smug look on his face. Then his eyes swept around like lightning, and he said coldly, I'll ask you one last time. Are you really not willing to come out? His voice was like thunder, reverberating in all directions. Although he did not mention a name, everyone knew that the person he was talking about was the mysterious expert who defeated Dong Qianshan. Humph, what a coward! Monk Shui sneered and ignored him. He was ready to challenge someone else. However, as soon as Monk Shui said that, a sword light shot into the sky like a rainbow and slashed at him. What? Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed in surprise. They did not expect that someone would dare to attack Monk Shui. Monk Shui's pupils shrank, and his face was full of shock. Firstly, he did not believe that someone would dare to attack him. Moreover, the sword light was simply too sharp. In a hurry, he could not dodge at all. He could only defend himself. Endless blood light surged and formed a blood shield in front of him. It was extremely red. As soon as the shield formed, the sharp sword light slashed at him. With a slash, his blood-red shield was cut into two halves. In the next moment, the terrifying sword light enveloped Monk Shui. Clang! Monk Shui was shocked. He raised the long saber in his hand to block the attack. Finally, he blocked the sword light. Suddenly, a sonorous sound was heard, causing everyone's ears to tremble. As for Monk Shui, he was sent flying by the tremendous force. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the elites who were participating in the martial arts conference were shocked. They could not believe it. Monk Shui was sent flying by a single slash? How was that possible? Who was the one who did it? Could it be one of the elites under the first prince? Thinking of this, everyone looked at the first prince. However, they soon realized that the first prince was also stunned. He did not even know what had happened. This made everyone even more puzzled. Who did it? Everyone was puzzled and could only look at the sky again. In the sky, Monk Shui was sent flying. He only stopped when he was thousands of miles away. Then his face became extremely ugly. Although he was not injured by the attack, his entire arm was completely numb. Not only that, but the blood in his body was also churning rapidly. One could imagine how much shock that attack had caused him. Who is it? Get out here! Monk Shui roared. He was about to go crazy. Previously, he had been extremely arrogant and didn't put anyone in his eyes. However, not long after, he was sent flying by someone. Moreover, he still did not know who his opponent was. This kind of situation made him lose all face. Chapter 1538. So he roared madly. However, he didn't notice anyone's figure. What? You dare to attack, but don't have the guts to stand out? Monk Shui roared madly. I'll let you know the consequences of offending me. OM. Suddenly, the sword on the waist of a nearby cultivator trembled, and it swiftly floated up into the sky. It's you? Monk Shui's gaze was like a bolt of lightning as he stared fixedly at that cultivator. On the other hand, that cultivator's face instantly turned pale from fright, and he shook his head madly. No, it wasn't me. It has nothing to do with me. He was on the verge of tears because he was only an ordinary king who just entered the king realm. So, how could he possibly dare to attack Monk Shui? However, to his shock, his sword had actually left its sheath and floated up into the sky. He was utterly unable to explain this. So, for a time, everyone's gazes converged onto him. Of course it wasn't him. I'm just borrowing his sword. Meanwhile, another voice resounded. This voice resounded through the heavens and the earth, but no one noticed where it came from. Even the first prince and the third prince, as well as the experts under them, were frowning. Damn it, who are you? Monk Shui had no choice but to stare at the sword in the sky and roar furiously. It was a very strange scene because only a sword floated in the sky. Who am I? Who did you say I was? Weren't you very arrogant earlier and wanted to fight me? What? It's you. As soon as these words were spoken, Monk Shui was shocked, and the others in the surroundings were shocked as well. Now, they finally knew who it was that had attacked. However, they hadn't expected that it would actually be Monk Shui. What? Could it really be that mysterious expert? That mysterious expert who defeated Dong Qianshan? Everyone was extremely shocked, and they carefully searched the surroundings. Within the pavilion, Dong Qianshan's face instantly turned gloomy. He quickly gritted his teeth and started to panic, because he'd heard that voice again. Yes, it's him. It's definitely him. That damnable voice. I'll never forget it. Dong Qianshan had a savage expression on his face. He'd once swore that he would definitely kill Monk Shui during the martial competition and restore his reputation. But now, after hearing the other party's voice and seeing the sharp sword from before, he actually lost his courage and didn't dare to challenge the other party again. However, Shui Shang gritted his teeth and said, "You've already made your move. Hurry up and show yourself. This young master will show you what a true expert is." His voice was laced with killing intent. However, Lin Xian's voice rang out. "No need. That sword represents me. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you." To be honest, Lin Xian didn't want to make a move, but the other party dared to insult him. This was something that he couldn't tolerate. Therefore, he made his move. However, there was no need for him to fight someone like Blood Monk himself. All he needed to do was to control a longsword. What arrogant words! Everyone exclaimed when they heard Lin Xian's voice. On Princess Kai Dai's side, Chu Yu let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the other party came. Princess Kai Dai also nodded slightly. To be honest, the other party's strength had exceeded her imagination. To be able to send Monk Shui flying with a single strike, he was definitely an expert. The eyes of the cultivators beside her also flickered. To be honest, they were also very shocked. In the sky, Monk Shui was enraged when he heard this. Arrogant, he was too arrogant. Using a long sword to fight him. Who did he think he was? He was the 9th-ranked expert under the 3rd prince. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? Even Jiangnan Tian and Hanli wouldn't dare to say such arrogant words. In the next moment, he coldly snorted, "Brat, I'll find you and tear you to pieces. Let's talk about it after you defeat that long sword in the sky." Lin Xian's voice rang out once again. Then, sword light flashed, and the long sword in the sky bloomed with resplendent light. It was like a sun that illuminated the surroundings. At this moment, endless sword light covered the sky. Terrifying sword chi shook the void and quickly trembled. What? So powerful! Everyone's expression changed when they sensed this aura. They originally thought that the other party was just being arrogant, but now it seemed that wasn't necessarily the case. Just this aura alone was enough to make their hearts tremble. It could be said that the other party had the strength to be so arrogant. In the next moment, the long sword trembled and turned into a shocking rainbow that slashed forward. "You're courting death." Monk Shui also roared. The blood sea domain around him vibrated rapidly. Countless blood-red lights surrounded him and formed an extremely terrifying demonic beast. It was a demonic beast with a snake's head and a tiger's body. Its body was like a mountain, and its blood chi was monstrous. A roar shook the void. In the next moment, this blood-red demonic beast quickly pounced forward. Boom! In an instant, it collided with that resplendent long sword. "Ha ha! Die!" Monk Shui laughed sinisterly. He had used an ultimate technique that was extremely terrifying. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it. Not to mention a sword that was only half an earth rank. The others also exclaimed because no one was optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. Monk Shui's aura was too powerful. He was like a peerless demonic king that emitted a terrifying aura. Puff! However, in the next moment, everyone was stunned because the mountain-like blood-red demonic beast was slashed apart by the sword. What? How is this possible? Everyone was shocked. Their bodies trembled, and their eyes were filled with fear. What kind of technique is this? How could he slash apart such a terrifying attack with one sword? Monk Shui's expression changed drastically. He shook his head frantically. Impossible! This is only a half-earth grade longsword. How could it slash apart my attack? He couldn't believe it. However, in the next moment, he roared angrily. Damn it! That was because the long sword didn't disappear. Instead, it slashed towards him with an even more powerful force. Get lost! Monk Shui was furious. He raised his saber to meet the attack. The blood-red longsword surged and brought about a boundless sea of blood. It collided with the long sword and clashed with it. Rumble! The sound of the collision was ear-piercing. It was like a monstrous wave that slammed in all directions. The sky surged, and a large black crack appeared in the sky and spread in all directions. This attack was simply too terrifying. Clang! In the next moment, the long sword in Monk Shui's hand cracked and broke in half. What? How is this possible? Monk Shui's pupils shrank. He couldn't believe it. However, in the next moment, he screamed in pain because the long sword had already slashed his body. Puff! The blood-red light soared into the sky. It was extremely hot. Monk Shui was sent flying. Defeated, everyone was stunned. They didn't expect the battle to end so quickly. The outcome was beyond everyone's expectations. Monk Shui was defeated. He was completely defeated. In front of the long sword, he couldn't resist at all. No way. That person is so powerful. Yeah, he didn't even show his true body. He defeated Monk Shui with just a long sword. That's unbelievable. Chapter 1539. Everyone on Princess Katie's side was shocked. The person you found is not bad. Princess Kaidai revealed a rare smile. To be honest, I didn't know he was so powerful. Chi was also shocked. Indeed, when she met Lin Xian previously, he only displayed the strength of a 2-star king. However, from the looks of it, even a 3-star king was no match for him. In the surroundings, the experts under Princess Kaidai's command were silent. Previously, they were still mocking Lin Xian, thinking that he was just a figurehead. However, from the looks of it, they were completely wrong. Lin Xian defeated Blood Monk easily without using his real body and only controlling a long sword. They knew that they were no match for him. The atmosphere on the third prince's side was extremely solemn. The martial artists under the third prince's command all widened their eyes in disbelief. Meanwhile, Dong Qianshan's face was filled with fear. Fortunately, he did not make a move. Otherwise, he would be the one dead now. Even the third prince's expression was solemn. To be honest, even he did not expect Blood Monk to be defeated so thoroughly. Instantly, he snorted in displeasure. Humph! What is this trash Blood Monk doing? He's a disgrace to us. Fire Demon said coldly. Then, he looked at the third prince. I'll go. His methods are a little strange. I don't feel at ease if I send someone else. All right, go ahead. You must take him down. The third prince's voice was solemn. However, he was not too worried. Fire Demon was the third strongest martial artist under his command. He was extremely powerful. In the past, all the experts under Princess Katie's command combined could not even defeat Fire Demon. Therefore, the third prince was not worried about him taking action. However, he still snorted in his heart. He wanted to see who this mysterious martial artist was. How dare he be so arrogant? Moreover, he had already made up his mind. After defeating Lin Xian, he would make Lin Xian submit. Otherwise, he would kill Lin Xian. Because if such an expert could not be used by him, he would not let anyone else have him. Thinking of this, a cold glint appeared in the third prince's eyes. On the other side, Fire Demon's body swayed, and he appeared high up in the sky. His robe fluttered as a powerful aura emitted from his body. He was like the god of fire, mighty and extraordinary. What? Fire Demon! Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that it would be Fire Demon's turn to make a move so soon. The fire demon was different from the blood monk. Previously, Monk Shui was only a martial artist ranked 9th. He could be considered an expert. However, in the eyes of the crowd, he was not that famous. However, the fire demon was different. He was a super expert and had a great reputation among the younger generation. There was almost no one who didn't know about the pair of fiery demon palms. Thus, when they saw the fire demon attack, everyone was extremely shocked. Even Princess Kai Dai's side is worried. This was because the number 1 expert on their side had been defeated by the fire demon. Therefore, they knew the fire demon's strength very well. Oh no, the fire demon is attacking. I wonder if that mysterious person can block it. The group of martial artists were worried, but Princess Kai Dai also frowned. She asked in a low voice, "What do you think? Can he defeat the fire demon?" "I don't know." Chuyu shook his head. "But from the looks of it, even if he can't win, he won't lose too badly." Hearing that, Princess Kai Dai nodded slightly. For some reason, she became nervous. This was because she realized that whether she could enter the first echelon this time depended on a mysterious person who had yet to show himself. If it was in the past, she would not care about it. However, it was happening now. In the sky, the fire demon's aura was strong. He looked around and said coldly, "Kid, I advise you to come out and fight with your real body. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death. My real body is here. Whether you can find it or not will depend on your ability." Lin Xian's voice sounded again. Facing the fire demon, his voice was still calm and fearless. "Humph, you don't know what's good for you." The fire demon sneered, and then slapped his palm. Suddenly, a fiery red palm appeared in the sky like a glazed flame. Soon, it grabbed the treasure sword that was floating in the sky. Sizzle, clang, a terrifying heat was emitted like a wave of fire. In an instant, the half-Earth-grade treasure sword was burned into 2. What? That's terrifying. Seeing this scene, everyone felt their scalps go numb. That was a half-Earth-grade treasure sword. Although it was not as good as an Earth-grade treasure weapon, it was still a sharp treasure sword. But now, it was actually broken by someone. This scene was simply too shocking. What a terrifying flame. In the crowd, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation was shocked when he saw this scene. As a fire-type martial artist, he naturally knew how difficult it was to break a half-Earth-grade treasure sword with just flames. However, the other party had done it so easily. In addition to the other party's strength, he had definitely mastered a very terrifying flame. Not only the Fire Cloud Nation's experts, but even Zhou Tian frowned. "Damn it, this guy's flame is even more terrifying than my blue sky flames. It would be difficult for that guy to defeat him." On the other side, Fatty Luo rubbed his hands. "Brother, I bet on you to win. You must hold on for me." Beside him, the youth shook his head. "Fatty Luo, you are too bold. You actually bet on someone I've never heard of. I dare to bet that you will definitely lose this time." In fact, that was what everyone thought. Almost everyone had bet on the fire demon. The fire demon was too powerful. No matter how strong the mysterious person was, he would not be able to defeat him. "Hee, kid, your sword is already broken. Come out." The fire demon sneered, his expression extremely arrogant. In the crowd, Lin Xian also frowned slightly. He did not expect the other party's flame to be so terrifying that it could break a half-Earth-grade treasure sword so easily. "Interesting. You are not bad. You are worth my time," Lin Xian said indifferently as he nodded. When this voice rang out, it caused an uproar among the crowd. Even the fire demon's face darkened. "Kid, you have successfully angered me. You better not let me find you. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death." However, what answered him was a fierce attack. The broken sword blossomed with a resplendent light. Then, 2 shocking streaks of sword chi slashed forward. You are courting death. The fire demon was enraged and waved his palm. At the same time, a fiery red light overflowed into the sky, piercing through the void. As for those sword energies, they were simply too sharp. The sword chi crisscrossed, and the light soared into the sky. The terrifying aura made everyone's heart tremble. The sword slashed out, splitting all the fiery red palm shadows. At this moment, the broken sword was like a peerless divine sword, invincible. Chapter 1540. What kind of sword chi is this? It's too terrifying. This person must be a peerless swordsman. Everyone was shocked. The first prince, third prince, Princess Kai Dai, and their subordinates all wore solemn expressions. This was because they discovered that the other party's strength was beyond their expectations. You're courting death. Break for me. The fire demon was furious because that sharp sword chi made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It even made him feel a sense of trepidation. He had only felt this feeling from Jiang Tian and Han Li, but he didn't expect that a mysterious martial artist would be able to make him feel this way. He couldn't accept this. This uneasy feeling made the fire demon fly into a rage. In the next moment, he stretched out his palm, and a resplendent light blossomed. Suddenly, a huge red palm stretched out like a cloud of fire, covering the sky and earth, completely enveloping all of the sword chi. His goal was very simple. He wanted to refine all of the sword chi. Boom! The fiery red palm fell, bringing with it a terrifying temperature. The fire demon, was famous for his pair of fire demon palms. His palms were fused with extremely terrifying flames. These flames were even more terrifying than the legendary blue sky flames. Thus, it could be said that there was nothing that could remain intact under his palm. He believed that the other party's sword chi was the same. At this moment, seeing the fire demon use the fire demon palms, everyone was shocked. The martial artists on the third prince's side also nodded continuously. Even some of the older generation figures in the villa were extremely shocked. Many of the older generation experts nodded one after another. They were very optimistic about this fire demon because with his talent and strength, his future achievements would definitely be limitless. Boom! The terrifying fire demon palms stretched out, bringing with it endless heat waves, directly evaporating the lake below. Not only that, but several cracks were also blasted open in the void. The entire sky violently boiled like a huge boiler, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. Some of the weaker ones were even directly sent flying by the aftermath of this palm. But fortunately, none of the people present were weak. After the initial cry of alarm, they quickly adjusted their defenses and retreated to a safe distance. In the next moment, they looked forward and cried out in alarm, because in the sky, the two streaks of sword chi were rapidly trembling, emitting a resplendent light. Then they turned into countless streaks of sword light that soared into the sky. That strong aura was too sharp. Even in this heat wave environment, everyone still felt a chill. Humph! Die! The fire demon snorted coldly as all the power in his body surged into his palm again. Suddenly, the fire demon palm released an incomparably bright light. In an instant, it enveloped all the sword lights. Boom! Boom! The terrifying sound of the collision rang out like a clap of thunder, resounding through the world. 10,000 swords chimed in unison, as if they wanted to destroy everything. However, in the end, all of the sword chi was still enveloped by the flame demon palm. Not only that, but the entire void was distorted by the heat, and everyone's spiritual energy was evaporated. Ha ha! Brat, your sword chi is gone. Hurry up and come out. Fire demon raised his head and laughed. As for the warriors under the third prince, They all cheered. Great, the fire demon is so strong. That was natural. The fire demon was ranked third. Humph, that brat is so arrogant. He actually dared to look down on the fire demon. Now he knows how powerful I am. What mysterious expert. I think he's just SOSO. Humph. Why isn't there any movement? I guess that brat is definitely scared, out of his wits, and doesn't dare to come out at all. The third prince's side laughed wildly, while the others were exclaiming. On Princess Katie's side, the atmosphere was solemn. Sure enough, he still lost. No choice. The fire demon is too strong. Several warriors shook their heads and sighed. Princess Katie's expression was also solemn. Are we really going to lose? She had already discovered that the mysterious expert's strength was even more terrifying than the number one expert on her side. But even so, she still could not defeat the fire demon. Was she really unable to enter the first tier? Ha ha! Princess Kite-Eye, don't look forward to it anymore. Do you have anyone else who wants to join the battle? If not, I'm going to challenge someone else. In the sky, the fire demon's expression was wild. He did not put Princess Katie's side in his eyes at all. The warriors under the third prince also laughed. Fire demon, don't waste time. Our opponent is the first prince. That's right. The third prince nodded. He only had one enemy, and that was the first prince. He did not put the others, including Princess Kite-Eye, in his eyes. All right. The fire demon nodded and prepared to challenge the first prince, but at this moment he frowned. On the third prince's side, the smile on his face instantly froze. The surrounding martial artists were all stunned. This was because a sharp sword light lit up in the sky, shaking the void as it slashed out from the terrifying fire demon's palm. In the sky, the sea of fire surged and waves of air rolled. A huge crack appeared, which was cut open by the sword chi. Not only that, but there were countless cracks in the crack. The entire sky seemed to have been cut into pieces. What? It rushed out. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. The third prince's side was even more shocked. This was because a shocking sword light like a bright divine rainbow lit up the sky and slashed out from the fire demon's palm. Not only that, the sword light quickly slashed towards the fire demon. The fire demon's expression changed immediately. He did not expect that the opponent's sword chi was still there, and it was so sharp. Could it be that his fire demon's palm had lost its effect? Damn it! How is this possible? The fire demon's expression was very ugly, but now was not the time for him to think too much. This was because the sword chi was still slashing towards him. Clang, 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 bang. Even though the fire demon was extremely powerful and his fire demon's palm was unparalleled in the world, he still could not fight back against the sword chi. His fire demon's palm was extremely red, and when it collided with the sword chi, there was a sonorous vibration. The entire void trembled rapidly as if it was a painting that kept rolling. This scene stunned everyone. They had never imagined that the fire demon would actually fail. One should know that the fire demon's palm was extremely terrifying and could melt everything. But now it could not shatter the bright sword chi. Buzz. Suddenly, thousands of sword lights flashed in the sky and quickly merged to form a shocking azure dragon that roared in all directions. Finally, a dragon-shaped sword chi spiraled in the void and rushed forward. Oh no! The fire demon's expression changed drastically when he sensed the sword chi. This was because the dragon-shaped sword chi was so terrifying that it made him shudder. He knew that this sword chi could still pose a threat to him. Therefore, he did not hesitate and quickly retreated. However, the dragon-shaped sword chi was too terrifying. It was dazzling and carried a monstrous, murderous aura. It quickly descended and enveloped him. Chapter 1541. The dragon-shaped sword chi was too terrifying. It was dazzling and carried a monstrous killing intent. It quickly descended and enveloped him. Get lost! Fire Fiend roared angrily. A red domain appeared beside him and quickly formed a huge shield. At the same time, he waved his hands, and the Fire Fiend palms shot into the sky. The palms were bright red and had mysterious patterns on them. They emitted a monstrous aura and slammed into the dragon-shaped sword chi. In the next moment, a shocking explosion occurred, causing the entire sky to tremble. Endless waves of air surged, drowning everything. However, the dragon-shaped sword chi was too powerful. It sent the Fire Fiend palms flying and cut through Fire Fiend's domain. It slashed Fire Fiend's body. Bang! Fire Fiend was sent flying and crashed into the ground, forming a terrifying crater. Barf! He struggled to get up and spat out a mouthful of blood. His hair was disheveled, and he was in a sorry state. There was a deep sword wound on his body that had almost cut him in half. Looking at this scene, everyone was stunned. They simply could not believe that fire demon had actually been defeated, and even suffered such heavy injuries. That was Fire Fiend. He was ranked third among the third prince's subordinates. Dong Qianshan and Blood Monk could not compare to him at all. It could be said that he was a true powerhouse, but now he had been defeated. He had been struck by the sword chi. Until now, they had not even seen the other party's figure. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Among them, the third prince's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He had never thought that the outcome would be like this. The first prince's eyes also flickered. That was because a mysterious powerhouse had appeared out of thin air. It was very disadvantageous to them. However, the first prince was happy to see the third prince's ferocious expression. On the other side, Princess Kaidai heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, that scene had indeed exceeded her expectations. She had never thought that the other party would be able to defeat Fire Fiend. That was a pleasant surprise. Ha ha ha, brother, that's a good move. However, with your skills, it's a pity for you to stay under Kaidai. Are you interested in joining my side? Don't worry, I'll definitely give you the best treatment, the first prince said with a smile. Hearing this, Princess Kaidai's face sank. She had never thought that the crown prince would try to poach her in public. At the same time, she was extremely nervous because she could not guarantee whether the other party would agree or not. After all, the first prince's status and strength both surpassed hers. However, Lin Xian shook his head. There's no need for that. I'm not anyone's subordinate, and I won't go over to your side. I'm only taking action this time to make an exchange with someone else. Besides this, I also want to see what the strongest battle strength of the great Xian Empire's younger generation is like. As he finished speaking, his voice was filled with boundless killing intent. It was extremely sharp, and it shook space to the point terrifying cracks appeared. Indeed, Lin Xian had no interest in the fights between the princes and princesses. The reason why he acted was only because he had made a deal with Chuyu. He helped Princess Kaidai, and Chuyu helped him enter the Danzong. That was all. But now he had another idea, and that was to battle with the strongest of the younger generation of the great Xian Empire. When the surrounding warriors heard this, they were all extremely shocked. Humph, you want to battle with the strongest genius of the great Xian Empire? You're too arrogant. Kid, I'll take you down. Get out here and die. Furious roars rang out one after another. Most of them were from the third prince's subordinates. They were naturally the ones who had lost face after the fire demon's defeat. So now they were gnashing their teeth, wishing that they could capture the other party on the spot and kill him. I'm only speaking the truth. If you're not convinced, then feel free to attack. However, you have no chance of winning. Lin Xian spoke once more. You're courting death. Shameless boasting. Immediately, several warriors charged into the sky. Although they did not know where Lin Xian was, there were still several sword lights floating in the sky. As long as they shattered those sword lights, the other party would naturally appear. However, they soon regretted it, because the sword chi in the sky had transformed into mountains that pressed down on them. Too terrifying, like an ancient demonic mountain. It was incomparably heavy. In an instant, those warriors were all sent flying. Boom, boom, boom. Those people came quickly, but they were even faster when they were sent flying. And at this time, Lin Xian's voice sounded once more, "Trash don't come. It's better for the strongest to come out and fight." Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too arrogant to actually directly challenge the strongest. Princess Katie's side was even more shocked. They had never thought that this mysterious person was actually so powerful. However, Princess Kai-Dai revealed a smile, like a fresh flower blooming. She did not care about the other party's attitude, as long as the other party's strength was formidable, and could defeat the warriors under the third prince and eldest prince. That way, he would have the qualifications to enter the first tier. This was something she had dreamed of. Now, it was actually really going to be realized, but the third prince and eldest prince furrowed their brows. The other party's arrogant attitude made them extremely displeased, especially the third prince. A hint of icy killing intent even surfaced in his eyes. The other party's actions were undoubtedly slapping his face. What he had to do now was to kill the other party to relieve the hatred in his heart. However, in this current situation, he would not make a move. He could only send the warriors under him to fight. So he looked to the side. There sat a youth in white clothes, his eyes tightly closed, as if in meditation. He was really too quiet, incompatible with the surrounding environment. At this moment, that youth in white clothes felt the third prince's gaze and immediately opened his eyes. His starry eyes were incomparably deep, as if carrying a magical power. In this current situation, I can only ask you to make a move, the third prince said softly. The third prince's attitude was very low. At least he did not treat the other party as a subordinate. Okay. The youth in white clothes nodded, then slowly stood up. Following his movements, a powerful aura was emitted from his body, spreading out in all directions. The expressions of the surrounding experts all changed. Although they were also experts and were usually arrogant and proud in front of this youth in white clothes, they were as obedient as kittens, because no one dared to behave atrociously in front of this youth in white clothes. Not only were the warriors on the third prince's side shocked, at this moment, everyone in the entire Misty Wave Mountain Villa held their breaths, because they knew that Jiang Nantian was about to make a move. Jiang Nantian could be said to be known by everyone in the empire of Dexian, because he was too dazzling. At the age of 25, his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the 3-star king realm, and his strength was incomparably terrifying. Countless figures of the older generation were not his match. He was like a dazzling star that everyone could only look up to, and now he was about to make a move. Chapter 1542. Jiang Nantian's figure fluttered like a bolt of white lightning as he arrived high in the sky. But at that moment, another figure quickly flew over. Jiang Nantian frowned when he saw this figure. The others were shocked once more. Han Li. That's right, this figure was Han Li. He was a peerless genius on par with Jiang Nantian. However, Jiang Nantian was the #1 expert under the third prince, while Han Li was the #1 expert under the first prince. No one expected that even he would make a move. Could it be that the mysterious person was truly so powerful? You want to make a move? Jiang Nantian asked with a frown. Of course. Didn't you hear? He's challenging the strongest genius. Of course he's talking about me. It was clear that Han Li was the strongest genius and Jiang Nantian wasn't. What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm inferior to you? Jiang Nantian's voice was ice cold as he emitted a powerful aura. Of course you're inferior to me. Han Li sneered, and his body also emitted a biting cold aura. The two auras collided in the air with a thunderous sound that shook the void. This kind of collision was too terrifying. Just the shock waves alone sent many people flying. Everyone hurriedly retreated and looked at the sky nervously. Could it be that these two were going to fight ahead of time? Indeed, the two were extremely famous, and their strength was comparable. They could be said to be a pair of peerless geniuses. However, they had both won and lost in their battles. They hadn't truly shown who was more powerful. Thus, when they heard that Lin Xian was going to challenge the strongest person, both of them stepped forward to challenge him. But now it seemed that the two of them would likely fight ahead of time to determine the victor. Everyone was looking forward to it. But at that moment, Lin Xian's voice sounded out once more. No need to be so troublesome. You two can come one at a time. Neither of you can escape. His voice was calm, but it carried an unquestionable domineering aura. One at a time. Neither of you can escape. Do you think they're cabbages? They're peerless geniuses. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. In the sky, Jiang Nantian and Han Li were also stunned. What an arrogant fellow! Jiang Nantian frowned. Han Li looked up to the sky and laughed. Good. Of course, of course. Brat, it's been a long time since you dared to speak to me like that. I want to see what ability you have. He snorted coldly and was about to attack. However, this time, Jiang Nantian stopped him. I came out first, so naturally I should make the first move. Humph! You dare to stop me? Han Li was enraged, and his aura suddenly erupted, instantly enveloping the surrounding area like a torrential flood. Then he clenched his fist and punched out. In an instant, all the sword rays in the sky exploded. Brat, get out here. This voice contained a biting, cold, killing intent that immediately caused many people's ears to bleed and their bodies to tremble. Since you want to be the first to die, I'll fulfill your wish. Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Then, with a flash, he appeared in the sky. What? It has appeared. At that moment, everyone raised their heads to look at the sky. Their expressions were filled with shock. They did not expect that the mysterious man would finally appear. Hee, brother, I knew you were here. Fatty Luo looked at the sky and grinned. What? It's really him. Zhou Tian, Han Kuan, Jade Beauty, Bai Yuran, and the others looked at the figure in shock. They did not expect that the mysterious man was the young man they had met at the Fengyue brothel. Zhou Tian's heart was beating wildly. He was extremely shocked. At that time, he had recklessly attacked the other party. He did not expect the other party to be so powerful. Fortunately, the other party did not kill her at that time. Otherwise, she would have been dead. As for Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran, their faces were flushed and their eyes were filled with adoration. On the other side, Chu Yu also heaved a sigh of relief. She slowly said, Princess, it's him. It's him? Princess Kaidai looked at the figure in the sky with a shocked expression. To be honest, she was too shocked. She did not expect that Chu Yu would help her find such a powerful martial artist who could even contend with Jiang Nantian. And Han Li, the third prince, the eldest prince, and the surrounding experts all looked at the sky with grave expressions. At that moment, Lin Xian became the center of attention. Jiang Nantian and Han Li also stared at Lin Xian. Among them, Han Li coldly asked, You are the mysterious man who attacked before? That's right, it's me. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. Humph! It seems that's all there is to it. Let me see what qualifications you have to be so arrogant. With that said, Han Li clenched his fist again and punched. This punch was extremely terrifying. It was as if a mountain was trembling in the air. It directly shattered the void and arrived in front of Lin Xian. Clang! Lin Xian also clenched his fist and punched out to meet Han Li's attack. Suddenly, the two fists collided with a heaven-shaking sound. Terrifying cracks spread in all directions. The two did not use any divine abilities. It was a pure contest of strength. This attack was evenly matched. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect that the mysterious youth would be able to contend against Han Li. Han Li was also surprised. Good. I didn't expect you to have some strength. Try and take another punch from me. With that said, he punched out again. At the side, Jiang Nantian saw this scene and shook his head with a sigh. He knew that once Han Li attacked, it was impossible for him to stop unless victory was decided. But he did not want to take advantage of Han Li's precarious situation and fight 2 against 1. His figure blurred, and he came down again. Suddenly, only Han Li and Lin Xian were left in the sky. Lin Xian let out a long roar, and his body flickered with light. Countless strands of sword qi burst out from his body and soared into the sky. At that moment, he was like a powerful sword god floating in the sky. Kill! He formed an incantation gesture with his hand and pushed it forward. Suddenly, a huge Qiong Qi appeared in the sky and roared as it charged forward. Boom! The two exchanged blows, shaking heaven and earth. It was as if two gods were fighting. Terrifying auras spread out in all directions. Fortunately, the Misty Wave Mountain Villa was an ancient ruin and had powerful defensive formations. Otherwise, it would have been razed to the ground. Han Li used a mid-grade earth-tier martial art, the Heavenly Wind Fist. It was extremely powerful. As for Lin Xian, he used the 9 Heavens transformations. One demon beast after another flew out from his fingers to meet Han Li's attack. These were 2 supreme techniques. They were extremely terrifying and caused the surrounding space to explode. After several tens of exchanges, Han Li suddenly let out a long roar. I thought you had some strength, but it seems you're only SOSO. Since that's the case, let's end this battle. Die. He sneered and waved his hand. Suddenly, countless streaks of purple light soared into the sky and quickly covered it. Purple devil purgatory, seal all directions. With a furious roar, purple light quickly surged and sealed the entire space. Chapter 1543. A huge purple vortex appeared in the sky. Terrifying energy roared like a myriad of beasts, shocking everyone. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was surrounded by countless purple lights and sealed in a special space. The space was translucent, allowing everyone to clearly see what was happening inside. Countless streaks of purple energy roared like furious dragons and quickly blasted towards Lin Xian, wanting to blast him apart. Not good. This is the purple devil purgatory, one of Han Li's consummate abilities. That's right. I heard that he used this purple devil purgatory to kill many peerless geniuses. Even the older generation couldn't break it. It's over. I fear that Lin Xian won't be able to break it either. The scene in the sky caused everyone's expression to change, especially Jade Beauty, Bai Yuran, and the others below. They looked anxious. Although they weren't cultivators of the great Xian Empire, they had heard of the purple devil purgatory. It was easy to imagine how terrifying this ability was. On the other side, Princess Kaidai, Chu Yu, and the others wore grave expressions. They didn't expect that Han Li would be able to use such a terrifying martial art so quickly. Jiang Nantian's eyes flickered. He had fought with Han Li many times and naturally knew how terrifying the purple devil purgatory was. Apart from him, very few people were able to escape. I wonder if he will be able to escape, or will it end here? The crown prince and the others all laughed. Ha ha ha! What mysterious expert! He has no chance of victory against Han Li, that's right. Although that brat is quite skilled, he can't contend against a top genius like Han Li. This battle is over. Many people sneered. They believed that Lin Xian had no hope of escaping. In the sky, the purple devil purgatory. A purple translucent space floated in the air. Violent energy surged within it, and Lin Xian was the first to bear the brunt of it. However, Lin Xian didn't appear to be anxious. He appeared to be quite calm. In the next moment, his eyes focused, and he coldly shouted. Soon after, he clenched his hand and grabbed at the air. Suddenly, a black devil sword quickly appeared. This sword was completely black and had demonic patterns on it. It emitted a mysterious and terrifying aura. 9 devil sword. With a slash of the sword light soared into the sky. The entire demonic sword emitted an incomparably terrifying energy. Boom! In the next moment, the black sword radiance flashed and slashed violently on the purple demon purgatory. Immediately, a cracking sound was heard. The entire void began to tremble violently. Pung! In the next moment, an astonishing explosion was heard. The terrifying purple demon purgatory was actually split into 2 by the sword strike. Lin Xian, on the other hand, turned into a beam of light and dashed out at high speed. What? It was broken. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked, not daring to believe this. The experts on the first prince's side opened their mouths wide, and their minds went blank. That was the purple devil purgatory, an extremely powerful secret technique that Han Li possessed. In the past, many genius martial artists and even older generation figures had fallen under this move. But now, it was actually split apart by a sword. Even Han Li's pupils abruptly contracted, and he wore an expression of extreme shock. He refused to believe that his opponent would be able to breach his purple demon purgatory so easily. Damn it, how is this possible? How did he do it? However, the only answer he received was a shocking sword radiance. The Black 9 Darkness Devil sword was like a black mountain. It was incomparably terrifying as it ruthlessly smashed towards Han Li Peng. In the next moment, Han Li was forced back. What? He was forced back. Everyone cried out in alarm, not daring to believe their eyes. The incomparably powerful Han Li had actually been forced back. This was truly too shocking. At this moment, everyone in the Misty Wave Mountain Manor was extremely shocked. Ah, brat, I'm going to kill you. After being forced back by a single sword strike, Han Li was incomparably crazed. He hadn't anticipated that his opponent would be so powerful, so he had been careless and had been forced back. This was intolerable. At this moment, he was completely enraged. Han Li floated in the air and stopped his retreat. His purple robes quickly fluttered, and he emitted an incomparably terrifying aura. That pair of ice-cold eyes had turned into a purple light. There were also mysterious talisman characters flickering around him. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, directly piercing through space. Those familiar with him knew that at this moment, Han Li was truly enraged. Many of the cultivators on the eldest prince's side felt their hearts wildly pound. It's over. It's been a long time since I've seen Han Li like this. The last time I saw him like this was during his battle with Jiang Nantian. That's right. When Han Li goes berserk, no one can stop him. Only Jiang Nantian could resist him. Apart from him, no one else had any chance of survival. When the eldest prince saw this, he let out a sigh. Previously, he had wanted Han Li to subdue him and take him in as a subordinate. But now, it seemed that this was impossible. This was because once Han Li went berserk, his opponent would definitely die. The spectating cultivators were also shocked. At this moment, Han Li was like a fiend god. They didn't dare to look directly at him. Bright monarch palm. In the sky, Hanli furiously roared and struck out with his palm. Suddenly, the sky boiled. A gigantic purple palm was formed rapidly, like a tidal wave. It swept towards Lin Xian at high speed. Lin Xian's gaze was also resolute. He grasped the Nine Darkness Devil Sword and slashed out. Suddenly, a terrifying sword light rushed forward. The Nine Darkness Devil Sword was incomparably mysterious. He too even guessed that this devil sword might have come from the terrifying forbidden land of life, the underworld. One could imagine how terrifying this devil sword was. Its grade wouldn't be lower than an Earth-grade treasure. Now that it was in Lin Xian's hands, it was incomparably powerful. Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul possessed fearsome offensive power. Although he was only a one-star king, his battle prowess wasn't inferior to any three-star king. Thus, this sword strike was extremely powerful. Pung! The black sword light and the purple palm collided, creating a resounding clang. The entire space boiled. What? He blocked it again. Seeing that the bright monarch palm was useless, Han Li's expression turned gloomy. He didn't think that his opponent would be this powerful. However, he furiously roared and decided to attack with all his strength. Bright monarch palm. Han Li furiously roared, and his body shined with purple light. In an instant, countless mysterious talisman characters revolved around his body. Mysterious, illusory figures appeared on his body. They were incomparably terrifying. In the next moment, his figure blurred and quickly charged towards Lin Xian like purple lightning. Lin Xian's expression didn't change as he waved the Nine Darkness Devil Sword in his hand, the power of 4,000 swords. At this moment, he used the myriad sword art and wielded the power of 4,000 swords. Suddenly, the wind and clouds above changed, for streaks of black lightning quickly formed. Each of the 4 streaks of lightning contained the power of 1,000 swords. It was incomparably terrifying. In addition to the sharpness of the great dragon sword soul, it could be said that the power was beyond imagination. Chapter 1544. Rumble. The black thunderbolt was like a sword radiance, but it was also like a huge mountain. It quickly descended from the sky and shattered the entire void. In an instant, the sky had become a sea of black lightning. The entire void was submerged, and Han Li bore the brunt of the endless sea of lightning. What a terrifying scene! When the crowd saw this, their expressions wildly changed. The reason for that was because they were able to clearly sense the berserk power brought forth by the lightning. It was simply too terrifying. When they encountered such power, they had no power to resist at all. Even Zhang Nantian wore a grave expression and his gaze wavered. Within the sea of lightning, Han Li roared towards the sky as his body flickered with purple light. However, his resistance was futile. This lightning was the result of the myriad sword art combined with the power of the great dragon sword soul. It was incomparably powerful. In an instant, the 4 purple devilish shadows he summoned were shattered by the sea of lightning. Not only that, but his body was also struck. When the black lightning struck his body, his chi and blood roiled, and he couldn't stand steadily. However, as a peerless genius, he was powerful. He quickly summoned a purple armor that covered his body to resist the black lightning that filled the sky. However, he was still blasted back continuously. Not only was he forced back, but his chi and blood roiled as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. In this exchange, he had suffered yet another loss. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, their expressions greatly changed. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. This was Han Li. He was the most dazzling genius of the great Xian Empire's younger generation, but now he had been beaten to the point of spitting blood. Just how powerful was that youth called Lin Xian? They didn't dare to imagine. At this moment, even Princess Kai Dai, the first prince, the third prince, and the others had extremely grave expressions. Jiang Nantian suddenly stood up and stared at the sky with a frightening glint in his eyes. He had fought with Han Li many times and was well aware of his opponent's strength. Even he wouldn't be able to injure him so easily. Han Li's body trembled with anger. His opponent's strength had shocked him greatly, but he couldn't accept that he had been injured. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared angrily again and performed a powerful divine ability, martial art. Akala. Han Li incessantly waved his hands, causing the purple light on his body to become even more dazzling. A purple figure formed behind him, exuding a mysterious power. Kill. In the next moment, he let out a furious roar and charged towards Lin Xian. This time, he was truly enraged. He was determined to kill Lin Xian. 3 heads and 6 arms. Arriving in front of Lin Xian, Han Li shouted once more. Suddenly, the purple silhouette took a step forward and fused with him. Instantly, 2 more heads and 4 more arms appeared on both sides of him. He looked extremely strange. With 3 heads and 6 arms, there were no blind spots at all. Furthermore, the 2 arms that were formed were holding sabers, swords, and spears. At that moment, Han Li's aura had reached its peak. Lin Xian, on the other hand, waved the 9 Serenities Devil Sword. One after another, peerless demonic beasts flew out from the tip of his sword. The Qiongqi, the Heavenly Peng, the Dijiang, the Zhuyan, and the 9 Yin were all ancient divine beasts. Although they were formed from spiritual power, they were extremely powerful, as if they were real divine beasts. Peng, peng, peng. The 2 forces collided in the air, erupting with resplendent radiance. The sky boiled as a vast amount of energy surged into the distance. After several tens of moves, Lin Xian suddenly pointed with his left hand. 3 void-shattering fingers quickly flew out in an extremely strange manner. Puff, puff, dang. The void-shattering fingers were traceless and capable of destroying everything. Now that Lin Xian had used them, they were even more unfathomable. 2 of the void-shattering fingers pierced through the 2 purple silhouettes beside Han Li. As for the third, Han Li's true body dodged it. But even so, it had achieved an extraordinary result. This was because it had broken through Han Li's Akala body. The 3 heads and 6 arms quickly disappeared. Han Li's face was pale. This was because his divine ability had been broken, and he had also suffered a certain amount of backlash. What? It was broken again? Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They didn't dare to believe this. From the beginning of the battle until now, Han Li had been suppressed by his opponent. Every time he used a powerful divine ability, it was quickly broken through by his opponent. It was as if his opponent had a natural advantage over him. They knew that if this happened once, it could be due to luck. But if it happened multiple times, it couldn't be explained by luck. This meant that his opponent was incomparably powerful. It was even possible that his battle prowess surpassed Han Li's. With that thought, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. At that moment, Lin Xian coldly said, "You've already lost. Let's switch." Everyone fell silent. Indeed, Han Li had been sent flying 3 times. This meant that his opponent was extremely powerful. However, they couldn't accept this reality. As for Han Li, he couldn't accept it. He angrily roared, "Don't be so arrogant. I was careless and didn't use my king's domain. Brat, my true techniques are all in my king's domain. Now, I will kill you with my own hands." With that said, he angrily roared. His eyes blossomed with incomparably resplendent light. They were like two streaks of light that tore through the sky. Behold my king's domain, death's door. Along with this voice, purple light quickly flashed from Han Li's body. A purple domain instantly enveloped him. Within the purple domain, purple chi roiled. It was incomparably mysterious. A 10-meter-tall purple gate appeared out of thin air. It floated in the air. The gate was engraved with mysterious veined patterns that emitted an ancient aura. Death's door. When everyone saw this, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. As for the third prince, the eldest prince, and Princess Kai Dai, they all stood up. Their expressions were filled with shock. That's right. Han Li's king's domain was the Death's Door. However, he was normally very powerful and rarely used his king's domain in battle. As a result, they rarely saw it. They didn't expect that they would see it in battle today. The Death's Door was one of the most powerful king's domains in the Grand Xian Empire. Princess Kai Dai's expression was grave. She knew that things were troublesome because she was well aware of how terrifying the Death's Door was. The Death's Door was created by a cultivation art. It was extremely famous in the Grand Xian Empire. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate. In the past several thousand years, only 3 or 4 people had successfully cultivated it. Han Li was one of them. On the other side, the third prince frowned. His subordinate Jiang Nantian was extremely powerful. However, he was unable to completely defeat Han Li because of the Death's Door. The eldest prince smiled. Since he used the Death's Door, that brat won't be able to win. It's a pity. I didn't think that brat would be able to force Han Li to this extent. It is truly rare. Chapter 1545. The Gate of Death was extremely terrifying. It was said that when the gate opened, no one would be able to survive. No one knew what was behind the Gate of Death. However, some said that it could be connected to the underworld or hell. Regardless, there was no doubt that the Gate of Death was extremely frightening. Han Li stood near the Gate of Death with an indifferent expression. Brat, you should be proud of yourself for forcing me to use this move. However, since you've angered me, you won't be able to survive. Now, go to hell. With that said, he waved his hand and spoke in a deep voice. Death's sound wave. Following Han Li's voice, the purple gate of death blossomed with light. Purple devilish patterns appeared on its surface. The purple demonic runes vibrated rapidly, forming waves of death waves that spread out rapidly. These sound waves were too terrifying. They were tangible and specialized in harming one's soul. It was extremely strange and impossible to guard against. There were a few unlucky ones in the crowd that were swept by the sound waves and fell to the ground. They weren't injured, but their auras had been completely extinguished. How terrifying! When the others saw this, they retreated in fright, their scalps tingling. Fortunately, the majority of the sound waves were wildly sweeping towards Lin Xian. Damn it, this is a soul attack. That brat Lin definitely won't be able to withstand it. Of course, that brat's battle prowess is already so great. His soul power can't possibly be that outstanding. After all, a person's energy is limited. He can't take on everything. It seems he's finished this time. That's right. I didn't expect Han Li to be so powerful. His Gate of Death released a soul-destroying wave of death. I fear that not many people can withstand such an attack. As the crowd discussed this, they nervously looked towards the sky. In the sky, Lin Xian wore a grave expression. Ever since he had come out of the Gate of Death, he had felt his hair stand on end. Han Li's king's domain was truly too strange. He had never seen it before. However, he possessed the great dragon sword soul. Even in this strange domain, he didn't fear it. Thus, when he saw the other party unleashing the death sound wave that specialized in destroying souls, he immediately harumphed coldly. Others might not have so much energy to cultivate both combat strength and soul force at the same time, but he was different. Previously, after cultivating the sky spill visualization diagram, his soul power had become extremely strong. He was definitely not inferior to a 3-star king. Moreover, the great dragon sword spirit was an offensive saint spell between heaven and earth that could destroy everything. This kind of strength was not only reflected in battle, but also in soul force. It was even enough to destroy those illusory things. Therefore, although this death sound wave was terrifying, and to the majority of martial artists it was a sure kill divine, ability ultimate skill, however, it had no effect on him. Dragon King roar. In the next moment, Lin Xian let out a cold shout. His soul force coordinated with the great dragon sword soul, and quickly released a sound wave attack. Roar. This sound wave was extremely terrifying. The Buddha true dragon roared, its voice shaking the heavens and earth. Boom. The Dragon King's roar collided directly with the death sound wave, producing a violent collision sound. It was as if swords and sabers had clashed against each other, causing countless black cracks to appear in the void. Explode, explode, explode. The sky exploded with a bang, and flickering black holes appeared one after another. Fortunately, they were fighting in the sky. Otherwise, the entire Misty Wave Mountain Manor would have been affected even with the defensive formation. What? He blocked it. That's impossible. Han Li's expression greatly changed. He didn't dare to imagine that his opponent was actually able to block his death sound wave. One had to know that his death sound wave wasn't an ordinary sound wave. Ordinary sound waves only caused damage to the body. However, his death sound wave not only caused damage to the body, it also attacked one's soul power. This kind of combined damage was the most terrifying. Ordinary martial artists were completely unable to defend against it. Only if they had a treasure of the soul Tao would they be lucky enough to survive. Jiang Nantian had such a treasure in his hands, which was why he was able to fight him to a draw. As for the others, none of them were a match for him. But now his opponent had also used a sound wave martial art to block his death sound wave. This greatly surprised him. The others were even more shocked and didn't dare to believe it. They originally thought that Lin Xian was dead for sure. No one could resist this sound wave. However, the current situation was beyond their expectations. The other party used a roar to directly block the death sound wave. That terrifying sound even caused their auras to surge and their bodies to almost split apart. Damn it, what kind of martial art is this? It's actually so terrifying. No way. How can his soul power be so strong? F***CK. Where did this kid appear from? Why is he like a freak? Isn't this combat strength too terrifying? Exclamations sounded one after another. As for Princess Kaidai, Chuyu, Jade Beauty by Yuran, and the others, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The fact that Lin Xian was fine was undoubtedly the best news for them. Buzz buzz. The two sound waves collided and finally disappeared at the same time. The crack in the sky also quickly recovered. However, Han Li's expression was extremely ugly. Previously, he had vowed that the other party was dead for sure. But now the other party actually broke through his death sound wave. This was intolerable. Since you're done attacking, it's my turn to attack, Lin Xian said coldly. Then he waved his hand, and the dragon sword domain suddenly appeared beside him. Myriad sword art, myriad sword, heavenly attraction. Lin Xian once again used the myriad sword art. The dragon sword domain trembled, and countless sword chi quickly surged like sword spirits. Then it soared into the sky. Suddenly, multicolored light filled the sky, and sword chi crisscrossed. The entire sky was completely filled with ruthless sword light. These sword chi were incomparably fast, and all of them blasted on the door of death, erupting into a shocking explosion. Pung pung! This attack was incomparably powerful and immediately caused the purple door of death to tremble. Even the light above it became dim. Damn it! Seeing that his door of death was damaged, Han Li's face also turned pale. He roared crazily, and his palms quickly changed seals. Door of death, death ray. Buzz. Ka-ka. Suddenly, the purple door of death shone again. After that, the tightly shut door slowly opened, emitting kacha-kacha sounds. An incomparably terrifying aura was emitted from the crack in the door. That aura was too terrifying and made people feel despair. The previous death sound wave was only emitted from the door. The door did not open. And now, the purple door of death had opened. What kind of incomparably terrifying energy would it display? No one dared to imagine. However, they knew that the next attack would definitely be more terrifying than the death storm. Chapter 1546, Death Ray. Along with Han Li's voice, a purple ray of light quickly condensed in the crack of the door and blasted forward. Boom! A purple ray of light instantly tore through the sky like a furious dragon. Wherever it passed, the sky was quickly shattered. What? Everyone felt their scalps go numb, and their expressions were filled with horror. This attack was far too terrifying. It was capable of instantly killing any 3-star monarch. They didn't think that the death ray would possess such terrifying power. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank abruptly. The purple death ray was extremely sharp and quickly arrived in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian let out a low shout and activated the Dragon Sword domain. The Dragon Sword domain immediately trembled, and countless strands of sword chi quickly condensed into 2 wings that quickly enveloped Lin Xian. The 2 wings were completely formed from sword chi, and when they closed, they covered the sky and protected Lin Xian. Boom! In the next moment, the death ray collided with the sword chi wings and violently clashed. Clouds and mist surged, and waves of chi surged. It was as if 2 mountains had collided in the sky, creating a deafening sound. The death ray was extremely terrifying and could kill a 3-star monarch. However, when it collided with the 2 sword chi wings, it lost its effect. Although the entire space shook violently, the death ray wasn't able to break through the 2 azure wings. What? How is this possible? Looking at the scene in front of him, Han Li widened his eyes in disbelief. That was the death ray that he was so proud of. It could kill any 3-star monarch, but now it was unable to break through his opponent's defenses. This was simply too unbelievable. Crack! The huge sword chi wings unfurled and slowly opened, revealing the situation inside. Lin Xian's clothes fluttered in the wind, and his expression was calm. He hadn't suffered any injuries. In the next moment, his gaze focused, and his body released a terrifying aura. Then he soared into the sky with the Dragon Sword domain and charged forward. What? When Han Li saw this, his pupils contracted, and a sense of fear welled up in his heart. However, he still summoned up his courage and roared, "Doors of death, open completely for me." As his voice fell, the spiritual energy in his body burned fiercely, and a terrifying energy ran through his body. Because, with his current cultivation and strength, he was still unable to completely open the door of death. However, at this moment, he was burning his spiritual energy to stimulate his body's potential. He wanted to open the door of death ahead of time to kill his opponent. The gate of death was incomparably terrifying. It was his strongest move. At this moment, He was willing to use all of his strength to open the gate of death. Ka, ka, ka. Boom. Two deep sounds rang out, and the door of death slowly opened, revealing a pitch-black darkness. No one knew where the door led to, but the energy emitted from it was too terrifying. Even those of the older generation had expressions of despair on their faces. Han Li burned every inch of power within his body, and his entire body erupted with dazzling light. The gates of death were fully opened, emitting a terrifying suction force that instantly enveloped Lin Xian. Then, the devouring power pulled Lin Xian into the door of death. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure entered the door of death and disappeared. The entire sky regained its clarity once again. It was quiet without a trace of sound. What's going on? What happened? Everyone's eyes widened. That Lin Xian was sucked into the door of death. He really went in? This is the first time I've seen such a strange situation. Everyone was shocked and didn't dare to believe it. Even Princess Kai Dai, the third prince, and the others frowned. Han Li faced the sky and laughed. Ha 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 ha. Brat, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to come out after entering the door of death. From today onwards, you can go to hell for me. His voice was filled with arrogance and pride. In his opinion, Lin Xian was an extremely powerful enemy. But so what if he was powerful? Wasn't he still killed by him? What? Entering the door of death is the same as entering hell. That brat won't be able to come back. Rumor has it that the door of death is connected to an incomparably mysterious world. Now it seems that it is true. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. They knew that the battle was over. Lin Xian had entered the door of death and wouldn't be able to come out. Seeing this scene, Han Kuan, the Fire Cloud Nation youth, and the other martial artists all sighed. As for Jade Beauty by Yuran and the others, their faces were pale. Princess Kai Dai also sighed, and her eyes seemed to have lost their luster. She was indeed quite sad because Lin Xian's strength could have pushed her to the first tier. But now that he had entered the incomparably mysterious door of death, it was likely that he wouldn't be able to come out in this lifetime. At the side, Jiang Nanshan's expression was solemn as he whispered to himself, "Is it over? He's still lost." It seems that the door of death is indeed incomparably strange. In the sky, Han Li laughed wildly once again. Then he swept his gaze and stared at Jiang Nantian as he coldly shouted, "Jiang Nantian, come up. I'm going to finish you off together." This voice was filled with endless domineering aura. When the surrounding people heard this, their scalps went numb. What? He still wants to fight. This Han Li is too powerful. He just fought the powerful Lin Xian, and now he wants to fight Jiang Nantian? When Jiang Nantian heard this, he slightly shook his head. "No, you just finished a great battle and must have consumed a lot of energy. Why don't we wait for you to recover before we fight?" He decisively refused. In the sky, Han Li tightly frowned. Because he had previously completely opened the door of death, he had burned a lot of spiritual power, so he wanted to take advantage of this power to quickly finish off Jiang Nantian. But he didn't expect that Jiang Nantian wouldn't be fooled and wouldn't fight him. This caused him to feel anxious, because when the power he activated disappeared, he feared that he would enter a period of weakness for a period of time. When that time came, he would be no match for Jiang Nantian. "Humph! What? You don't dare to fight? Could it be that you're afraid?" Han Li sneered. "It doesn't matter. As long as you say that you've lost to me, I won't fight you." However, Jiang Nantian still slightly shook his head. "I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to take advantage of you. Let's fight later." As an expert, he naturally saw Han Li's current state at a glance. If he went up to fight now, he would undoubtedly be courting death. He wasn't that foolish. Han Li coldly laughed. "It's not up to you to decide." With that said, his figure blurred, and he quickly charged towards Jiang Nantian. Regardless of whether Jiang Nantian was willing or not, he was going to suck him into the door of death. That way, no one would be his match. You're tuning in to the Mystic Fist YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.